All right, yeah. All right, we finally back. It's weird because like we seen each other. We had a couple of wrestling conversations, but I specifically waited for a few topics to talk about till we got on the show.
I don't even know what to say. I don't know where to start. I'm just here so I don't get
Houston, we have a problem.
Yes! What you gonna do? 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 What you gonna do?
Oh, yeah.
It's still playing. He's still playing in my head.
First of all, you know what? Hold on.
Oh no, this early?
I got all right. For some reason, as a musician, I know timing. You know, I play the drums, the heartbeat of the band. Every time when you play music on StreamYard, like an intro and stuff, that first like
it speeds it up.
5 seconds be super fast,
yeah.
And then it goes do, 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 do. I got yelled at enough times for making songs go too fast from my dad to know.
Stay in the pocket, Brian. Stay in the pocket.
So you've been around a long enough. Yeah, I'm like, come on, like what? All right.
I thought hello, ladies. I thought I was tripping. I was like, "Is it? Maybe it's my girlfriend." I'm not gonna say that.
Nah, yo, it's every week. I think I'm supposed to like pre-roll it and then do it or whatever. But yeah, that's my bone to pick. All right, now we got that out the way. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this episode of the Wrestling Realm Now podcast. I am your host, Brian H. Waters, and I'm joined by the co-owner, the co-founder, the remarkable, the impeccable, the one, the only. We've been doing this for 10 years exactly this month, the real Dwayne Allen.
You always introduce me like it's WrestleMania.
Look, man.
That's why people don't like you now. You still keep doing it.
Hey, I'm going to keep doing it. It's the thing where people... We always talk about the Howard Finkles, the Gorilla Monsoons, the Jesse Venturas, the Michael Coles, the Jim Rosses. But you know who they sleep on? Tony Schiavone's, Larry Zbyszko's, Eric Bischoff's was Bobby the Brain Heenan. But you know who they sleep on? Gordon Soley's. They always sleep on Vince McMahon. People don't give this man his credit as an announcer. And when you know, like you said, like WrestleMania, like I said, Howard Finkel, you know, he does. That's what every wrestler's dream was growing up, to be announced by him. We saw that with CM Punk at Survivor Series. But you know, you gotta think about like Vince when he would do like those special in-ring interviews, how he would introduce people. You know, I remember in school, people getting mad, the Bret Hart haters, like every time Vince McMahon would introduce Bret Hart on commentary, he'd be kissing up to him. The excellence of execution, this, that, and the other, you know.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I've been dealing with Bret Hart hate for so long.
Oh, well, people, yeah. I was about to say, recently? That doesn't make any sense, but okay.
Just for so long, you know. But anyway, speaking of Bret Hart, man, they just had his A&E special, and what a time it was. You know, a lot of times with these A&E specials, I think you've been
right.
We've been watching wrestling long enough. We've been consuming DVDs long enough. Even
that we have.
And specials. Now, a lot of times
you with the books.
You started reading the Shawn Michaels book, yeah? Did you?
I did. I read like the first 2 chapters.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good.
I'm never in any one place long enough to sit down and read, or in a or in a situation where I have to choose reading over anything else. Like, I don't know. I'm not getting into it because if people think I don't read anything, which I usually don't, but
you know, we sat there, all this wrestling we've been consuming over these years.
Right, correct.
We know these stories, but the thing that I've been able to appreciate about A&E, one, they're updated stories. Sometimes there's added voices from people we haven't heard before. or in a long time. You know, even with Bret Hart, one of the biggest surprises was so last week we had Ultimate Warrior, right?
Yeah.
But with Warrior, they only had Dana Warrior, his widow. They didn't have his ex-wife, if I'm not mistaken, but she was on Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah,
and so you got
I guess so. It's called Dark Side of the Ring.
And honestly, she didn't even bury him. Like, it could have been you thinking it's going to be like way worse, you know, especially talking about his infidelity on the road. You know,
I hope that she wouldn't. The brother's passed away. God rest his soul.
Yeah, Warrior had a whole deck. And she was like, you know, she do a wellness check. Hey, where's my husband? Oh, he's fine. He's asleep. Come to find out, this man got a woman here.
That was the culture of the business. You know,
yeah.
You know,
so
it's not just him; it's most professional sports in the road during that time. But go ahead,
bro. Brett said it in his book. He had one. You know, he go to different city. He knew who to call. But with this one, you know, they had
Sorry, it just sounds way worse when you say it like that. Like, I thought about
I mean,
that whole hitman moniker takes on a whole different meaning. I'm done. I'm done.
Yo, well, you got like Brett was for the ladies. He was the heartthrob, you know, for him and Shawn Michaels. Like, people always think Shawn Michaels because Shawn purposely was the boy toy. But shoot, you know, there's that video. There's always that video of people seeing Brett and Salt and Pepper at WrestleMania 11, you know, and they're like, oh, look at him. But we saw now, but you know, they had his ex-wife and his current wife on there, which I thought was key, especially, you know, she was a big part of that story, the Wrestling with Shadows DVD. You know, you saw her a lot in there, so I thought this was really good. Just being able to hear, I could never get enough Bret Hart content. I got the, you know, the unreleased matches or the, you know, some of the hits and misses DVD, not only just his regular DVDs, but also that Blu-ray that came out, I want to say like 2012, 2013 with all his like extra matches. So, but yeah, man, you know, I really enjoyed it. I did a special recap, right? Y'all can find
which was excellent, by the way, buddy. Kudos to you. I know I don't openly congratulate you in front of everybody, but that was, you know, you do good job, buddy. You do good work.
Appreciate it. You know, for those who don't know, we got a Twitch channel. So you know, shout out
we're doing a lot of expanding. Like, I keep cutting you off. Like, I'm really not trying to be rude, but it's just like, oh boy, we get this ball rolling, ain't we?
Yeah, I mean,
this is like 2011 all over again.
It really is. I mean, you just think about it. We have been like expanding. I mean, that's the pandemic, right? You sink or swim, and you know, we wasn't born this sink now, you know, so we've been swimming with sharks since day one. I mean, we've been defending our platform since that thing in college. Yeah. So look at us now. Which see, you told me to stop because I was like, you know what, maybe I should make another Facebook promo at some of them teachers, but I'm gonna be nice.
It's long gone. It's over with, I think.
But
here's my biggest fear. Once again, I just keep cutting you off. I don't want you to get called back to speak for an engagement. And they're like, oh yeah, I just watched one of your recent videos. You're like, sorry.
But
my bad.
Yeah, well, you know, shout out to Blue from the Mixed Tag Show, who you know, encouraged us to get on Twitch. So you know, I figured, you know, create a Twitch channel, use that for something else, you know. So there's opportunities where we'll go live, and you know, maybe who knows, y'all never know. The realness might decide, you know what, I want to talk to some people today.
That's usually what happens. I decide literally that day. It's the day I want to talk to people. I think that it is.
So you know, we created a Twitch channel, but also figured, I said, well, shoot, I got these old wrestling games. This is the Wrestling Realm, and you know, the whole purpose is just being the biggest wrestling fans that we could possibly be and be comfortable.
Leaders of the wrestling fan revolution.
Bingo. Exactly. So I took this opportunity to, you know, play some classics like WrestleMania, the arcade game, and WWF Raw. Super WrestleMania is in the system right now. Yeah, and Royal Rumble, don't forget. But also got some games on the way. WWF versus WCW versus the World. That's coming. You know, that was on my list, and you tried to clown me for it. Still looking for that 64 though. So I found that 64 then I can, unright that wrong, as you say. That was the quadruple wrestling games.
Here's my promise to you. This is how much I want you to experience Nintendo 64. And I'm saying this live in front of everybody. I'm publicly saying this to you now. If it takes too long, you can hold on to mine.
Oh,
and
wow.
You can play it. If you did you need an HDMI converter for that one, right?
That's what I got for the Retron system that allowed me to play the Super Nintendo games.
I was confused, like, why is everybody playing 64s on these 80-inch flat screens? Boy.
Yeah.
But I got it. I got No Mercy. You probably need WCW versus NWO Revenge, and you need WCW versus NWO World Tour just to experience all of them. Only thing about the No Mercy is I got the one with the glitch. Most people don't know this, and it's just a sidebar. Some of the No Mercy games had a glitch, so when you saved your game, if you left it sitting there for too long, it would just automatically erase. So it's I guess you have to be careful when you're trying to go back and recover WWF No Mercy, because it's tough to figure out which one had the glitch and which one did it.
Gotcha.
So that's the only thing about it, because I don't know how many times I would just go to town on No Mercy, get it done, save stuff, and come back, and it was all erased. But the gameplay is fun. Trust me, it's and it doesn't take long to get done. And you've played countless of other video games, so getting through that will be a breeze for you.
Okay.
And it's also the memory card is. I have a memory card that came with the controller that's a little bit older, so I don't know how that will hold up. But if you find yourself in a situation where you say, I have not got my hands on a 64, and now is the time, by all means. Say the word, brother. I got you.
I appreciate it, yeah, because I've been looking. The stores is like, man, they come in, they get out, they come in, they go out. Yep. So
I'm waiting for them to do what they did with the rest of them, with the Super Nintendo. It's coming. It's you have to know that it's coming.
Oh yeah, that's the guy told me in the store that they're gonna make a Retron. They just waiting for some patents to pass. So once they do that, that'll allow them to make those classic systems. And so part of it's like, well, do you wait? But whichever one I can get my hands on first.
We're on Twitch now. We play video games and people watch us.
You got to. So and it's pretty cool to go back and relive those memories, just how fun they was. Monday Night Raw has been one of those things that people just love to crap on. So I've been thinking, why not have Monday Night Raw in the video game? While I got Raw on, we can have a party. I can watch it, and we can watch it together. I can tell you whether you should turn it on or turn it off. I haven't. You know what though? I don't think Raw has been as bad as people make it seem. Okay, it's kind of getting like TNA to me. And what I mean is
that a good thing or a bad thing?
So it's a bad thing, obviously. But it's
where are we going with this? This is throwing me off.
So what I mean by TNA, I'm talking about perception.
Okay.
As perception, people keep saying TNA is bad, TNA is bad, TNA is bad. And I'm like, have y'all taken the time recently to watch it?
Are we talking any time frame when it comes to TNA?
Recently, like let's go.
So you're talking so you're talking about like current day Impact.
Shout out to Cameron Burnett. She's on TV. She's on NXT. She was on Wrestle for the Culture last year. You think about last year. Remember when the releases happened, right? And you told me, you was like, bro, like the Good Brothers have showed up in Impact, and man, they they're too good, but they got some stuff going over there that's kind of like worth paying attention to, right?
I agree.
Yeah, you had Rich Swann as the champion or going for the title. You had Willie Mack over there. You had all these characters, right? And again, it's but everybody's just been so used to saying TNA's bad, that they're not paying attention or taking the time. Like Jordan Grace has been over there killing it in the women's division. Deonna Purrazzo doing her thing. You got Tasha Steele, Kiera Hogan as the tag team champions, Fire and Flavor. So even as black wrestling fans, you sit back and watch, you're like, oh, you know what? We've been complaining, but we got a lot of our guys and girls over there doing their thing. So I'm watching it and I'm like, it's not that bad. So I look at Monday Night Raw, right?
Okay.
And I said, you know what? Raw isn't that bad. Sure, I will still stay by this. It is too long, but there are stories
like for a couple years now.
Yeah, but there are stories that I've been interested in. You know, I brought up Kofi on the Mixed Tag Show.
Mhm.
Next thing you know, they put him in the story with Lashley for a little bit. Now it sucked that he lost to Drew. They kicked him back out. You know, he's kind of back in the tag team, but you still, here's where he's a top guy.
Right. Yeah.
MVP would not be wasting his time talking to him.
Yeah.
He told him straight up, the only reason why Kofi Mania ended is because you allowed it. And that kind of, they creating this seed. So it's making you think like, wait, you know, because it was like, hey, I want to talk to you. You know, Xavier, kind of go do your thing. I want to talk to you. And then, you know, Xavier, and he's like, no, I'll talk to him, whatever. So I didn't watch Kofi's video from, you know, his WWE.com exclusive. I just saw MVP quote tweet and said clowns. But there's a story there. And it's got me interested to see where they're going with this on Monday nights.
Okay.
So what do you think when you look over everything? You know, I know sometimes wrestlers like, you know, I ain't gonna do this right now. But when you just thinking about the stories and
the
potential.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the natural progression of the ups and downs and the highs and lows and the peaks and valley of professional wrestling as we know it when you get into these awkward spaces of the professional wrestling business as a whole. Now, I know I just said a mouthful there, but you gotta kind of look back at the new generation. You know, when there was a steroid scandal in professional wrestling, the culture of professional wrestling itself took a major hit. Like it wasn't as popular as it once was in the previous 70s, 80s. You know, going into those early 90s, it wasn't the same. You know, all the superheroes of yesteryear were getting older, and you know, they were moving on to a different style of product, which was WCW. But even in WCW's early years, they were still there were fans there, but it was kind of stale. But the business itself was down. So when you look at these things happen. Like it's not out the ordinary. It may be bad, it may be lackluster, whatever you want, but it's natural. You know what I mean? Like it's not bad. Like it's part of the process. It's not like, oh yeah, wrestling itself is going to go out of business. It's just like, no, it's that awkward time due to a situation that was beyond their control. COVID hit and everything was kind of you know, all over the place. So everybody's is kind of in rebuild mode. Right. And you know, as entrepreneurs, you know, everybody wants to refer to the pandemic as either pandemic or the plandemic. You know what I mean? They have taken that time to try to strategize going forward into let's see what happens afterwards when all this is over, when this is all said and done, etc. That's what I'm saying right now. So it's understandable that if certain things don't come off as crystal clear as possible, or it doesn't make sense, or it's not the best of what we're used to. Now that's all completely disclaimer. That's all that was. That was my professional disclaimer. With that being said, I think the biggest thing we're looking forward to is, like you said, the stories. The problem is none of the stories, the stories seem lackluster for the positions that they're in. Like for instance, Bobby Lashley's top guy. He's the main guy right now. He's in a difficult situation because now he has to be the top guy during a period where the business is down. You know what I mean? And I don't mean necessarily down in terms of finances or popularity, but just this awkward cloud over professional wrestling right now, where it's like, yeah, other spaces are opening up with opportunities, but the WWE's product right now seems to be Stone Cold Steve Austin. Because you mentioned the A&E biographies, he mentioned the system failing him, and it's sad because the system hasn't changed since Austin walked out when they wanted him to face Brock Lesnar in the first round of that tournament, and there was no storyline to it. Although his actions, you know, hindsight being 2020, has always been looked at as unprofessional because not having his name on that card messed up a lot of people's, you know, pockets in regards to their payouts. What he said was true. He's like, yeah, the system failed. Like they spent so much time riding the wave that they didn't prepare somebody else new for me to go. Even if it's my time to put them over, I've done so much, you have to make it make sense, not just bring the next guy up and toss me away. That same system is in place now where they've got everybody on the even playing field, all the top guys on the even playing field, and you have to be special to stand out. But it's like they're purposely keeping everybody on the even playing field. And when you look at I don't know if it was Eric Bischoff or somebody, but they were talking about, like, I don't think there'll ever be another superstars of professional wrestling. There's never going to be one top guy anymore because they purposely have had it in a way where everyone can only get but so high. And I think that's part of the problem. Like Bobby Lashley's supposed to be having a major reign right now, but then the only major dance partner he has right now is Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
But if you look at Drew McIntyre's reign, it was during the pandemic where he had to make the best of a situation that was beyond his control. So the fans can only get behind what you do, but so much. And the last real momentum you had was at WrestleMania, which was months ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's difficult. So now everything they do seems lackluster because it seems like it's the same reaction every week. There's things about a live show on television that makes situations and moments seem like a big deal, but you can't have special moments. It's like you can tease things, you can tell these stories, but it's like, even for myself, like if it's nothing I can't not catch another day or read up about or look at, then I'm not interested. And when I mean not interested, not that I don't care, is that I'm not going to stop what I'm doing to go watch.
Right. I know what you
know what I mean? And that's what we're looking at. Like you look at it, it's like, well, why is Jeff Hardy like that? That's why when some guys, when they go to AEW, they want to seem like it's a big deal. And sometimes it falls flat because it's AEW. But, that surprise factor when somebody new or somebody that's jumped ship shows up, it's like it's not that big of a deal anymore because every wrestling company doesn't have a top guy that makes sense. It happens for one guy and one guy only because you have to have a business model that caters to this one guy is going to bring in all the money. And we haven't had that in a long time. Like New Japan Pro Wrestling in 2000 and anywhere between I say 12 to almost 16. Tanahashi was the John Cena of his day. He was the one today when New Japan was down. He was the young suit, not in 2012. I'm saying in general. When that's how we got to go with. They had three guys. They had Shinsuke. They had Tanahashi, which to me I've always said that's always been the John Cena, Randy Orton, New Japan. Okay. And they had
Okada.
They had no, wasn't Okada yet. They had another guy. I forgot his name just that quick. I know it's in my head, but I don't want to mispronounce his name and sound crazy. He left with it. He left and did MMA, and then that didn't work out. And then tried to come back to New Japan. He kind of lost his buzz because by the time he came back, Okada was the up and coming. You know what I mean? Oh,
got you.
Okada and Seth Rollins had a similar rising around that time, but the way New Japan is set up is people come to see the top guys. So if you got Shinsuke, Okada, and Tanahashi, everybody else on the undercard is just added fun. You know what I mean? But that's just how their product was built.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you could trust three guys to bring in all your money. Do you bring in a special guest like a Brock Lesnar or a Razor Ramon or Kurt Angle just for kicks and giggles for the Japanese fans to experience? But that's the business model of New Japan. New Japan is struggling right now because all their major superstars are not there anymore. There's nobody in that system. So you go from Tanahashi, you go from Shinsuke, they alternate, and then they ultimately pass the torch to Okada. And then Okada comes up around the same time AJ Styles steps in. So now you got four big guys, four major players, right? TNA, AJ Styles was TNA's top guy, but he was same thing that WWE's on right now. He leveled out. They were trying to create new stars, but at the expense of former guys that weren't doing much anyway.
Oh, okay.
So you got an AJ Styles that comes into New Japan. No one have ever seen him outside of TNA. So he comes into New Japan immediately and is a big deal. So all of a sudden he's there for a few years. As I say, get the TNA stink off him. He goes back and forth between New Japan and Ring of Honor. So now American audiences, one, can experience him because we can have a few matchups that we wanted during that time with Adam Cole and then we have and a few other guys that certain names we can't say. And then not touching that. Right. A couple of New Japan shows, the War of the Worlds, the Global Wars pay-per-views where you had the Bullet Club versus the Kingdom, you know what I mean, and things of that nature. And it made him on that level. So then he leaves, Shinsuke leaves, the Good Brothers leave. Kenny Omega's there by himself. He comes up in the ranks. Now it's Kenny Omega and it's Okada. They're the big deals. They're hooking that train to a Kenny Omega in New Japan, right? Yeah. And now you got guys like what's his name? Oh my goodness, the guy
Jay White.
No, not Jay White. Jay White was after them. I cannot believe I forgot his name. Let me look it up. It's like just
it's gonna bother you.
No, yes, really, it's because I just like I said, you got to be careful with these Japanese names.
Nah, I feel
And
you. You know, that's one thing
you don't
live
want to look
on.
crazy because everybody will call you out. What's his name? What is his name? I could have. It's. I'm ashamed because I'm like he was one of my favorite guys. Tatsuya Naito. Like I'm retarded.
Oh, yeah, I remember you telling me about him.
Naito came. He was coming up. You know what I mean? Because he started. He once again he did his excursion.
Now, he
Comes back.
just won the title recently, right? Like, was he the guy they just got going, but it didn't really pan out?
I mean, he did, but like I said, by the time like the star makers were gone at that point.
Okay,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
And you can only go toe to toe with Tanahashi, but so many times. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So he had his group. You know what I mean? Los Ingonables, de Japón. He went to Mexico, same thing like Shinsuke, and came back with this. They go on these excursions and they come back with these gimmicks. You know, and then he kind of was. Then he had his group.
Mm-hmm.
Bushi came back from 205 Live, and then they were trying to keep him locked into WWE doing the Cruiserweight Classic. He goes back. He's a top guy. You know what I mean? And it's like these are all guys that came up in the ranks, but now it's like the feuds aren't the same. You know what I mean? So then Will Ospreay is a junior heavyweight guy, big time cruiserweight dude, and then all of a sudden he's the top guy in New Japan, but then he gets hurt.
Yeah.
So now they have a new champion, and it's like it's nothing against the new guy. I mean, not really new guy. He's not really new, but it's not.
Right.
Him and Okada faced
There you
off.
go.
Him and Okada faced off for the was I frozen?
You was, but you good now.
Okay. Him and Okada faced off, for the vacant IWGP World Championship, which is ugly, by the way. And it didn't make much sense, right? So now you lose Adam Cole, you lose Cody Rhodes, you lose the Bucks, you lose Kenny Omega, you lose Adam Page, you lose that relationship with New Japan and Ring of Honor, where you can kind of cross promote and use each other's stars to make new stars.
Mm-hmm.
Jay White comes up. Jay White to me is having he's having a very old school run. You know what I mean? But after a while, it goes but so far because you're depending on a top guy to get you where you want to go. Now you bring it full circle to WWE. It's like you have a bunch of guys that potentially could be the top guy, but they keep everybody on this plane, this even platform where it's like you should be a bigger star than you are, and you should be drawing money. But the way that they're projecting on TV, I'm not treating you or your appearance as being special because how you're given to me proves to me I can see you whenever I want to. I can see what I can see on main event. It's not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? But let Andrade El Idolo show up on AEW. That's a guy that was kind of they want him to wait his turn. That's the reality of the situation. And he didn't want to. He shows up on AEW and all of a sudden he's a big deal. Now, most of the issue that we have, I've been talking for like 30 minutes. The issue that we have with a lot of these wrestling promotions is once that initial buzz is over, it never sustains itself unless you're really that good. That's why a lot of guys that leave will jump ship. Sometimes it doesn't work out because now you have to be put in a situation where like we're going to hook the train to you because now every time you show up, it's a big deal. It's special. It makes sense. And that's the biggest issue that I've noticed with like a Raw. Like you look at these names on paper, they're a big deal. But when you watch the product, you're like, well, it doesn't feel like that big. But I promise you, Jeff Hardy shows up in AEW next month. It's a big deal.
Right.
How many times have we seen Jeff Hardy show up in a different promotion? It's going to go crazy. Like Chris Jericho is 50 years old, and he's having another run because he's giving us a different version of himself, and they treat him like a big deal,
right?
You know what I mean? That's why guys like your Mark Henrys and your Big Shows and your Christians and your Matt Hardys, they're going to be left because they're going to be valued elsewhere because of who they were. You know what I mean? Because when they all left, they were in places that really weren't of any significance, but they're treated like big deals. In AEW, I'm not going to put Sting in that conversation because Sting is Sting. Yeah. You know what I mean? He looked good, by the way, in Double or Nothing.
You liked it?
I was happy to have him back. I was like, okay. Sting is back. That was good to see.
It was cool to see him not in a cinematic match because you could see Sting and with fans too.
Sure, and I think he just wanted to get himself back in shape. Sting he never takes off his shirt until he's fully back in shape. Did the same thing in TNA, did the same thing in WWE. So to see him like in working shape, he's one of those characters that if he stays in shape, he can get away with being Sting for a long time, especially the way that he was used. Everybody knows I'm not the biggest Darby Allin fan, not because I'm not a fan of his product, it's just that I don't see what people are seeing right now as far as this guy being a big deal in the world of professional wrestling. But the way that he's been used so far with him is kind of the blueprint of what you want for a guy like him, where one, a veteran is not overshadowing a young talent. You know what I mean? But he's getting that natural rub. And then Sting got to have his moment because the man's 62 years old in front of that live audience. He hit his spots. He don't have to carry the match himself. You know what I mean? And it just made sense. You know what I mean?
Actually, I enjoyed that match a lot. You know, to see them go over and some, but in this, it made sense. You got Sting in front of a live audience. You got to put him over. You know, you get that fans that moment. You got those fans out there who may be around our age, who may have, you know, slightly missed the WCW era. WWE, I will say, one thing that made me mad, I went to a Raw and he was backstage or, you know, doing some vignette where he's throwing the trophy in the trash can. And I was like, oh man, I ain't get a chance. I wanted to see him walk out and I ain't get that opportunity. But, you know, so you get fans who get to see him who may have missed the WCW run. They finally get to see him. So I thought it made sense for him to go over.
Like I said, I sat there with a 7-year-old and he was like, we missed Sting. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's crazy because he's not seen a lot of Sting matches up front, but what he has seen of him enough has made him a fan, which is that's different. That's legendary drawing power. That shows that you don't have, when you're that good, when you have that presence, that look, that it doesn't take much. And I think a lot of current day superstars are working to get to that point, but it takes longer. Like it takes, when John Cena was at the helm, we said wrestlers at a down period. It ain't what it used to be, you know. And now let John Cena's music hit down. It's gonna be a big deal because he's been missing for years. And he might be what they need. And as crazy as it sounds, that they might need this guy to come back up and do another full-time run. He took a lot of time off, you know, but once he's done kind of doing that, he's made his commitment to wrestling, of course. But it's like, man, when he comes back and he's like back, it might be what they need. You know what I mean? You need somebody to hit your wagon to. And right now, I'm just not seeing it. I like the stories, though. I like how they tease. As you were saying something, you were talking about MVP's interaction with New Day. I was like, I'm gonna wait till he's finished, but I'm gonna ask him this question: is the New Day too big for the Hurt Business?
Oh,
I mean, you talking ultimate heel turn. What if Kofi and Woods turn on Big E instead of everybody assuming Big E's just gonna turn on them? Are they too big? Because New Day's huge. Is it too big of a deal to join the Hurt Business?
It would be like some.
I think so. They sell too much merchandise.
They do, but if you put them with each other, right? If you imagine you take all the New Day stuff, don't make it as colorful, make it all black and gold. You know, you got like like just something like a New Day, but in that Hurt Business font. You know, you can kind of and see. I didn't think about it that way because you know the whole conversation is, you know, they got these pictures of that they did when they was doing like the mock sets of Kofi turning on Xavier Woods. But now you say something. What if the New Day joined the Hurt Business? You know, and then they become like some mega powers. But at the same time, it's like Kofi fans want to see him back in the title picture. You know what I mean? They was just tag team champions. He's not taking that title from Bobby Lashley. But if you make it make sense and say, look, let's dominate. Let's have this big.
See, that's the problem though. It's like they're afraid of the chase. Like how many times we've seen guys make themselves as contenders or as top guys just by simply the chase. You know what I mean? Like I didn't like it at the time, but when Christian, you know, won the World Heavyweight Championship and then lost it that night after WrestleMania, that Tuesday or whatever.
It was Extreme Rules. He won it at Extreme Rules, and then he lost it that Tuesday on SmackDown, which aired on Friday.
Didn't he lose after WrestleMania? Was it Extreme Rules? Edge won at WrestleMania. I'm tripping. So it was Extreme Rules, and we were like, Christian finally won, and then the next minute,
everybody was the internet blew up. Everybody was mad because you know the results leaked, and everybody
because that's what SmackDown was still like extremely taped. You know, and then I remember that, and it was like everybody was mad, and then Randy was like, "Y'all are tripping," but Christian gets the main event all around the world now. Now we weren't trying to hear that because we were like, "I'm not trying to hear that Randy Orton. He should be the champion." But from a business standpoint, you know, their perspective is always different from our perspective as wrestling fans. Right. There's nothing that we wanted to see, especially myself, but I can always say, well, he was kind of right because Christian was either in the conversation or he wasn't. There was never any in between. He was either an IC mid-card, high main event guy on that level, or he was chasing Randy Orton. I mean, that was his heyday, but he'll always be attached to that feud because of how big of a deal they made it. And Randy Orton has been a top guy for a long time. So they kind of elevated Christian.
And that's what we learned. It was better to be the number 1 heel than the number 2 babyface.
Yeah, that was almost a career defined. Like when you think about his title run, it's that like you those they're forever linked. That's what you remember the most. Because if I ask you, what's your favorite intercontinental Christian run? Like, what's your favorite feud from when he was? That's
I don't remember.
And that's kind of what it is. And it's not a knock, because Christian is my guy, but and it's unfortunate, but it's just the reality of the situation. Because speaking of Christian, man,
hold on, let's take a quick break because we gotta do some show promos. We be back after this.
I was as close as I was gonna get to a Ric Flair robe. I eventually would get one, but I remember I had it on.
We know.
I had it on, right? I had it on, and I just kept walking like this. I just kept walking. And I would take a moment, and I would just hold up my arms, and I would do a quick spin. And my mother said, "I saw you walking funny." She's like, "Why was he walking?" I said, "Man, I was walking like Ric Flair."
I just make it real quick. Make sure y'all check out the Wrestling Realm. Go to season 5. Season 5, that is Dwayne's top belts. We get ready to get back in the studio soon. I gotta reveal my top 5, and we got some other shows that we got planned. But that's the only one I'm gonna give y'all on this episode.
You know what I'm gonna say. The first thing I always say every time I see old video from the
what, yo?
Like, see how fat we were like a month ago. I'm like, God dang, we were chunky.
Yeah.
That fat. Because I look at us now. I'm like, look at my shoulders. Like we slimmed down. But you gotta stay tight on camera. But God dang,
I hate the pandemic, man.
What were we eating?
For so many reasons. Good food. Mind you, that was in the winter too. We was eating that warm food,
That's what it was.
The food hit different in the wintertime because you don't mind the oven being on in the kitchen.
There you go.
Like now, like the other day I was supposed to cook. I said, yo, it's too hot. I don't feel like it. I gotta take the chicken out of the fridge after we get over here. But take out the freezer.
That's what my mother said. She's like, it's too hot to cook. That's how I used to be always.
Bro, like I used to hear my mother say, like, okay, but now I see.
You're like, it's too hot to cook. Yeah, I don't eat nothing that heavy. Like, why would you have a dinner? I just had a salad. I was like, are you sure? Yeah, it's too hot to cook anything else. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, man. So you was about to talk about Christian. He's in AEW.
He's in AEW. My God.
And I've been waiting to see your reactions. Now there's been some time because I
always try to be fair and give it time.
Facts. So the Real Dwayne Allen, you have the floor.
Here's what I feel bad about Christian. It's a shame that this version of himself, this run, is wasted in AEW. Yeah, I don't. Well, I think he's in the best shape of his life. His hair looks great. He's got his hairstyle down. He looks really, really good in the ring. You know what I mean? And I think they're using him the right way. You know what I mean? He could have easily come in and jumped in and stuff. The one thing I can appreciate about AEW is the way they've used Christian, the way they've used Sting, Matt Hardy. I said it reluctantly, and that's my guy too. They have used them well because they paired them with younger talent. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I get what they're doing, and I like it. Overall, Christian, I hate his gear. I like, I was out. His gear is always the same, but it changes somehow. But this version of it, I was like, I'm not feeling it. The same way Christian is being used right now in AEW. I only wish we could have got that in WWE. He still has gas left in the tank to like compete. Not to just be working with young guys and putting those guys over, and I respect that position because you need it. I don't think that it's helping their company with the fuse that he's in.
Okay.
I don't think it's doing it because it we get to see Christian matches. Then we see, we're going to see Matt Hardy recently. As of today, when this airs, Matt Hardy, they're teasing Matt Hardy and Christian. Matt Hardy's got his young wolves. He's got his private party been doing his dirty work, and he's big money Matt, that version of himself that we've probably never seen since Ring of Honor. You know, with Christian and stuff like that. But it's just like, to me, it's like a shame. It's like, man, we could have just got Christian involved somehow in WWE with Edge and the Bloodline, and who knows what he could have been doing. To me, the talent, the younger talent in WWE is I like them better than the young talent in AEW, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely.
And I would love to see him work with that group. You know,
I mean, the SmackDown roster. You just think about that.
And in my mind, it's literally on SmackDown. Like, I'm not even thinking anywhere else. You know what I mean? That's what I would have loved to see more. The reality is, though, the sad part is, if he was at WWE, they would consider that run lackluster. It wouldn't be treated like it was a big deal because he would, because just the perception of such a big company and the W, like Jeff Hardy. When Jeff Hardy's working with young guys, Jeff Hardy's. You hear people say, Jeff Hardy's being buried because he's Jeff Hardy. Sure, and he's a legend, like he's certified, right? But then when you look at a broader scale, everybody's like, well, Jeff Hardy's not what Jeff Hardy used to be. And I'm kind of like, well, they're right too. So where do you fit him? So if you let him work with young guys in WWE, he's being buried. But then you go to let him go to AEW, sure, he's going to be a big deal for a month. And they'll probably use him better. But then again, I don't think them working with their young talent is really making a difference. I could be wrong. That's just my opinion. You know, you hear about. Tell me who's the top young talent in AEW.
MJF.
MJF, sure. MJF, that's one.
You know, MJF.
He's working with Jericho.
Well, we see. I was going to say Sammy G, but he's working with Jericho too. Even though, you know, side by side,
like it's like these WWE vets have been paired off with younger talent. Like, you know what I mean? But and to me, it's not making an imprint in my brain. You know what I mean? You have Cody Rhodes working with Anthony, what's his last name? Is it Ogogo? Okay, I thought it was Ogongo, but Ogogo, you know, is it making him better? You know what I mean? I don't know. It's like, to me, the last big time match that I saw that I was like, this has potential, or that I saw a future with, was when Cody Rhodes faced off with Wardlow in that cage match. Okay, that match by itself made an imprint. One of your favorites. It made it. It's instant hit in my mind. I'm like, it's not like Wardlow's a big time, you know, like a big deal, but he the way they did the match, it worked well. It went well. I was like, man, that was fun. I enjoyed that. That worked for me. But I'm not getting that feel with not with everything that they're doing with, you know, working with Youngtown, trying to get them more. It just doesn't. I don't know where you go with that, because if you're not challenging for the title, or you're not challenging for the TNT title, what stories are you giving me that's making me like you have Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle, but it's the same story. We've always one faction versus another faction, the old dogs versus the new dogs. But you can't even say that because, you know, you have the Inner Circle that's not really old dogs. You just got Jericho as the leader. You know, you got, you know, Santana Ortiz that are vets as well, and then Jack Swagger, and then you got Sammy G, right, and then you got the guys. Then you got MJF, and then you got Wardlow, and then you got Sean Spears, and then you got you know, you got Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler and FTR, and you're like, okay, so what is this supposed to do for anybody in this group? It's supposed the Inner Circle versus the Elite. I was locked in. You know what I mean? And you added Broken Matt Hardy to the mix. You know, it was the return of a beloved character that was created on his own. Right. I was locked in, but it fizzled out. Nobody's fault. It's just that during the pandemic, it was a lot of casualties. Bad timing. Broken Matt was a casualty of the pandemic. You know, it caused him to cut a promo saying, I tried a lot of things and stuff didn't work out too well. And I was like, man, that was kind of sad, because it was a big deal when he showed up. And I think they did an excellent job with it, but I was locked in. It had enough guys involved to make me want to come see it. Yeah. AEW is not the first ones to do this or to misstep it. Because when you look at TNA, and I didn't like everything Christian did in TNA. When he first got there, the buzz was dope, but then eventually he fizzled out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think when he got with Tom Cole and stuff, and now mind you can go back and appreciate TNA now, because when you watch some of those matches, you're like, oh wow, this stuff was actually good. But I had such an attitude towards TNA because everybody kept trying to compare it to WWE. I was like, I'm not even going to give it the time of day, right? Because when I'm watching a product currently, I want it to make sense to me. But when you go back and watch it, I don't need to make sense. I just want to see a good wrestling match. So there was a lot of gems that we didn't appreciate back then, it's myself included, that you can always go back and watch and go, oh wow, that was actually pretty good. it never got the credit that it deserved because of the way wrestling fans embrace current day product. And that's how I feel now about guys like Christian. I'm like, man, it's just not. He's a big deal. Like if he was in WWE, if he was having the same run in WWE that he's had in AEW, they would say the same thing. He's being buried. He's not doing nothing. He's not. And I'm just like, well, he's not working with top guys either. He's working with all young faces, all trying to, I don't know. But I reserve judgment, and I'm like, man, I just can't get into it. Like I'm a Christian guy, but I honestly don't care about what he's doing over there.
I thought about something.
Okay.
We always talk about the Marty Jannetty and the Shawn Michaels.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I think about Christian, I think now it's time to update that to the Edge and Christian. Here's what I mean.
Okay.
Both of these, so Marty Jannetty is essentially associated with the guy that fizzled off, that wasn't that good anyway, or that dropped the balls and missed a lot of opportunities. Okay. Well, with the Edge and Christian, you have the guy who's the star, the other guy who was a star world champion, but no matter what he did, he was never the other guy, right? Okay. I think about the same with Jeff and Matt. Both of them stars in their right, but no matter what, there was nothing Matt Hardy could do in the masses to be like, for even like somebody like WWE to say, okay, Matt, we're going to give you the ball and run with it. They gave Jeff the ball, right? Mm-hmm. So it was like, no matter what he did, he was never better than Jeff. And that's what I look at like with Christian. He was never better than Edge. You know what I mean? Even in this run, right? The last run we talked about earlier, Edge had to get out of the way and get hurt, unfortunately. Even though there was rumors that they was getting ready to get into a program, eventually Edge was going to turn on Christian was going to turn on Edge, and they was going to get into a major world title program, right?
That's what they were on their way to.
Yeah, but we didn't get that. So then once Edge goes home, okay, we got Christian. We'll settle. So that's what I mean. I think now it's time to change that from the Marty and Shawn. And now I got to figure out some more names. So I'm pretty sure, that might be a show.
I mean, think about it. It's not a lot of holding. It's not many tag teams these days that split and had like singles careers where somebody flopped or somebody became a superstar.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's not many. Like, it's this. I don't know. Like,
because you can even make that case with Morrison and Miz. No matter what, like Miz is WWE champion, top guy here. Morrison still ranked in went to TNA or Impact,
and that's the difference. Like you at least, I wouldn't dare compare people's runs because it's different. You know what I mean? But he still, like you said, he still had one. Yeah, it's not like he didn't do anything. Like it wasn't like he was wrestling on Saturday mornings. Like Marty Jannetty was a guy that just never put together a legitimate singles run. In all fairness, like I don't want to insult his career in any way, shape, or form because he has this place in history.
Yeah,
but he never had a run. Like
he had a quick IC title run, and it was over quickly.
Yeah, he is. It's funny because listening to Shawn Michaels' A&E biography, he was talking about Roddy Piper. Kind of started that fight between Shawn and Marty. Not he didn't start it, but he's like, "Oh yeah, kid, you got something. You got some work to do. And you gotta figure it out." Which is, and he was telling the truth, but of course, with the HBK's head and everything like that. But
I like Marty better.
No, sir. Marty Jannetty did win though because he still has a full head of hair. Shawn Michaels is stressing out.
Yeah, but Marty's done some. He's had some questionable moments on social media.
He's worked through some things, and I'll just leave it at that. But
did you listen to that episode of something to wrestle with? They talked about like all the times he got fired. Like they did a whole Marty Jannetty episode.
Yeah.
And I think he probably has the record for probably getting fired over 30 times. Like they would legit bring him in, then he'd get fired, he'd come back, bring him in again, he'd get fired. Then I'm like, sheesh.
Yeah, he's a guy that's just your talent sometimes puts you in that place. But then at the why everything else that comes with it, it just isn't good enough. You know what I'm saying? It's problematic.
It's not worth the headache.
No, especially like Shawn Michaels was probably just as worse. But Shawn Michaels was Shawn Michaels. I think that's the difference between him and a guy like Marty Jannetty at the end of the day outside of the wrestling ring.
Yeah.
But it's I can't imagine the Young Bucks splitting up and one having a better singles career versus the other. Right. Or even the FTR. Those guys seem to me like locked in tag team guys.
But see, you know what though? I felt the same way about the Usos, and I gotta say they doing their thing. They've separated more now than they've ever had before. Before you had to kind of like look at the eyebrows to see, one of them has like the cuts different, but it's like funny because like they both was like fat Usos, even though one was fatter, and then they like lost, like they both got cut at the same time. But Jay has made himself, and then shout out to Jimmy coming back. Made himself purposely. You could purposely tell the difference between these two just by hairstyle and hair color. Now
they are Hall of Famers. The talent they have is ridiculous because
I never thought it would happen, but they've become my new all-time favorite tag team over the Hart Foundation.
That is not easy to do, especially in tag team wrestling, because Eric Bischoff will always tell you that tag team wrestling is not necessarily profitable. You know what I mean? But when you have it, to me, it's the New Age Outlaws effect, because the New Age Outlaws weren't just a tag team. They weren't like dressing wearing the same outfits and we're the Fly Guys. They were two individual characters that came together to form a super tag team in my mind. And they're one of the greatest tag teams of all time, 6-time WWE champions. Even had a late run early. I mean, had a run late in their career.
You just gonna say it like that?
Yeah, that's
you talking about the New Age Outlaws.
New Age Outlaws.
You got to come on now. You got to say it right.
I can't, because it'll turn into its own show.
Tag team champions of the world.
I'm going to save all the good stuff for the tag team show.
Okay.
But trust me, I got it in the bag. I
don't want to make too much noise.
No, it's there. So I just it's not a.
You know what though? Remember, and this is how long we've been doing this show. Well, this brand in 2012, I remember you saying, because everybody was complaining, the Usos hadn't had their run yet. You remember they didn't win their first tag team championships until March 2014, right 2 weeks before WrestleMania 30, and it still wasn't on the main show. But you were saying to people, like, he was like, "Oh man, when the Usos gonna get their chance? When the Usos gonna get their chance?" And this being at the time the show for the intelligent wrestling fans, you said, "Yo, they got to figure out how can they make money." And it looked as if, and I always think about that. I was like, one, you talk about, you look at how long they've been patient and endured for so long, but they figured it out. And once they figured it out, it was no stopping them.
And like I said, it's not easy to do at the end of the day. Like it was good. It's good to see that they are still a tag team, but they're also individuals. I think you need that for versatility purposes, so you don't get stuck in tag team situations all the time. All right, tag team, they're known for being a tag team. So if they don't have a tag team match, you can't use them. That's not the case anymore with Jimmy and Jay, because now they have individual characters. They have different sides of a different coin, because they're twins, of course, which is plays into who they are. And then they're a part of a much bigger situation because they come from a Samoan wrestling dynasty.
Bro, that's a situation right there, right now.
I mean, there's so many wrinkles. Like it offers you verse. Like everybody's questioning, how does Jimmy fit into this? But Jimmy fit right in because he was able to play off the situation that's been given to him. This is the first time he's been given anything meaningful that we get to understand who Jimmy Uso is. So now you have this crazy family. Like, this is the one thing WWE has done right. The issue is, back in the day, they used to have this level of storytelling in almost all their fuse storylines, etc. Like, this is the one thing they're doing right. There's so many wrinkles to it. So guess what? Once again, you're doing your job when you're not worried about when's the last time Roman defended his title, because every storyline don't got to be about defending the title. It could be about the individual. He just has to be holding the title. You know what I mean? And I think that's where you want to go. That's where Bobby Lashley that's where Drew McIntyre just fizzled out. And it's not his fault. It's just that you got to have something tangible that sticks. Like this whole thing with Roman and his position, it sticks. The whole thing, and it's a hot take. You may not agree with Kenny Omega. It sticks. He is. His gimmick is like, okay, look, my character is I am on my gold rush. This is my conquering. I'm trying to grab as many world titles as possible. That's the story, not about, oh, well, Kenny Omega's beefing with Christian and now Christian wants the title. And it doesn't have to be about. We always talked about storylines that always revolve around the title. That's fine. It works in New Japan. But with an American audience, sometimes it doesn't always translate, because once it's over, then what? You know,
I don't mind with Kenny Omega. I want to see, and maybe it's because I've been programmed. I look at old stuff. You know, just like I said, when I look at some old Monday Night Raws, I've been used to seeing whether it was Bret Hart or Stone Cold Steve Austin or Shawn Michaels. I was kind of used to seeing these shows begin and end with the champion. You know, and right now I'm not feeling that with AEW. You know, they'll start off, open the show off with a match. You know what I mean? Now they did give us that. They gave us the Saturday night main event ish last Friday because you know with the NBA being, which I don't understand why they didn't make the deal with TBS to put the shows on Wednesday nights over there. But maybe they didn't want to go head to head with the NBA. But they opened up like with a hot tag match, and then they kind of like the first part of the show was like here, and it went down on a downward spiral, you know. But I want to see the champion, like I said, he's on this gold rush. I want to see like the show either start or end with him, not kind of just find him in the middle. And I got that with Jericho as champion. I'm not getting that with Omega.
Yeah, I have yet to watch the whole AEW show all the way through. It's difficult. Like and
Moxley sucked as a champion. I'm just saying. You know,
but he's always sucked. He sucked as Dean Ambrose. I told y'all that. Yeah, I was so enamored with this guy. I was like, yo, he's not.
You know, y'all. You said you talked to fans that. You know, I was.
You were Dean Ambrose guy.
No, I liked Roman. If I had to choose, you was the Seth guy, and that's okay. This Roman guy, and then they put him in the way of Daniel Bryan. That turned me away from him. Yeah,
that's a bad idea.
He would have been all right. He would have been cool with me. They put him in Daniel Bryan's way, and I was like, all right, I don't want to see him no more.
Right, Mox is your loose cannon. I get it. There's a place for him in AEW. Like there's a place for that guy.
I like this with him and Eddie Kingston.
I'm not a fan. Eddie Kingston is really good. He's probably one of the great talkers that don't get a lot of credit because that promo he cut. He's cut a couple of them in AEW that I was like, I didn't pay attention to you before, but I'm paying attention to you now. But for those guys to be beefing and then also now they're tag team, it's just like.
I got you. Yeah.
It's just not my cup of tea right now.
And I think that was just to put them in the feud to send Moxley home, you know, because, you know, Renee is due, from what I'm hearing, any day now. Shout out to her. Congrats. They about to have their baby. So I think that was just the kind of like, okay.
No, trust me. I get it. I get it. But it's just.
But that was funny when he stole the shoes. That was some New York type stuff.
Yeah. It fits him. Like Eddie Kingston works in that role. You know what I mean? For AEW, I don't know we're jumping all over the place because we can do whatever the heck we want to do.
Hey man, we had catching up to do,
bro. Heck yeah! Like, this is the catch up. That's what we call this episode, the catch up. not ketchup, not like mustard and stuff. But no, anyway. But something's missing for me.
Okay.
Maybe I'll enjoy it more live audience. You know what I mean? Because you went to an AEW show, didn't you?
Yeah, and I had a great time. Shout out, bro, Eric Brooks.
Yeah, AB.
You know, yeah, AB was there. Banks, another AB. Antonio Banks, not MVP, but you know,
Banks, good brother.
Yeah, fan since day one. You know, obviously Corey was there. You know, so yeah, we had a phenomenal time at that show.
Yeah,
that's where me and Britt met. Britt Waters.
Okay, yeah. Okay, see, I didn't know that. I didn't know when you guys first met at the AEW show.
Yeah, and then shout out, because I remember standing with Banks. I said, "Yo, there's Britt Waters. We was just get something to eat," and then come to find out, she was on the show and was like, "Oh, so we related somehow." Shout out to the bloodline. So yeah, but it all started there.
Yeah, it's this. The show is missing something. Like I'll catch you. It's nothing is making me right now say I got to go watch this. Like I'm forcing myself to watch it because I have to, and it's not like I'm purposely doing it. A couple of days I have boycotted over the releases. I always take time off when
you do
get released because I got an attitude. I'm like,
all right. This is what I want to know. This is what I want to know.
I just had to say releases.
I understood you getting upset the last time, bro. Who made you mad this time?
Big Braun. Come on.
Okay,
man.
Okay, that makes sense. All right.
Everybody else made sense. If you got to trim the fat, but that one was like, come on, man, are you serious? And of course, when the story and stuff all came out and all stuff, I get all that stuff, but that's
because I was confused. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't know. Like, I'm sitting there like, I didn't know any of these was your guys or gals. They
all made sense. Don't get me wrong. The only one, the one I changed my mind about was Aleister Black because I've never been a Devilman fan because I'm not into the all Luciferian stuff. That's a personal thing, but I never saw him as a
star,
as a big deal like people were making him to be like this. This never, mind you. He's never put. I've never seen him have a bad match ever.
That's never been the problem.
That's one thing I said. Look, man,
that one clip that goes viral where him and Andrade.
Yeah. Or I'll tell you another fault was freaking Lars Sullivan. That was another bad one. I heard that clip. I saw a TikTok thing on the kid was like, yeah, me watching wrestling when I was a kid, and they're like me watching wrestling now. And the kick when he went for the
it was Lars Sullivan.
It was Lars Sullivan.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Andrade. Yeah, it was that.
No, he was going for the whatever you call it, his finisher, and then he just like swung and he fell. He's never put on a bad match. I've never. To me, he was always a smaller guy. I said if he was the size of the Undertaker, he would be a big deal. You know what I mean? If he was, if Aleister Black was carrying Cross, you'd be like, oh, golly, this is intimidating. But I just always felt like his size was going to hold him back in regards to that. But he was such a class act when he got released. I was like, man, he kind of made me change my attitude of because I never knew him personally, but I know people that have known him personally. They've always said this guy is like an upstanding guy. He's like that whole loose first stuff was just like kind of religious thing that he kind of grew up on. It's not like he's not a mean person. It's weird because there's a lot of stigmas in regards to that type of lifestyle. But he's such a good guy. Like he's not mean at all. Like he was such a class act to say what he said. You know what I mean? When he got released,
I loved the way he ripped the dirt sheets.
I mean, he was. I mean, I was like, but I think a lot of people realized they're like, yo, this is a business. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And everybody got let go because of the business. And we can blame people in mismanagement. It probably was. I don't deny that one bit. I don't make excuses for it by any means. But he was one I was like, man, his response was really, really different. You know what I mean? He was like, look, man, me and Vince have no issues. And I think everybody knows that because eventually everybody wants to come back. Let's call it what it is.
Exactly.
I think everybody's going to go away. Like Vince is patient. He comes from the years of go somewhere else, get over for 2 or 3 years, and I'll bring you back. Like we're the only ones that get mad when somebody gets released and go elsewhere. But everybody's like, I'll leave, do my own thing, get myself over, and then come back. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So he was one I was like, man, they would just get him going, and then he got released. But Samoa Joe was the first one. I was like, all right, I'm done. Samoa Joe, Mickey James, that pissed me off after WrestleMania. Right. I was like, come on, yo. But then when you think about it, they pay these people a lot of money. I can't speak for Mickey, but Mickey James was very ripped every day until she spoke to Vince McMahon personally. He probably told the truth. Look, Mickey, I don't think nothing of you. This is a business decision. This is something that a lot of this stuff, Vince McMahon is not making these decisions. His advisors are like, look, do we have to get the fact this is this, that, and the third? And I think once they realize that once it's not personal, if you notice with all the recent cuts, and we brought this up, because now I'm ready to dig into this. This is why there'll never be competition in the world of professional wrestling. Mm-hmm. Because competition, it's got to come some type of animosity in some way, shape, or form, right? Yeah, it's got to, because I just got fired, I just got released, I got something, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of these recent releases, a lot of these guys jumping ships, like Big Show, like Mark Henry, like Jericho, like Eric Bischoff, and I'm gonna speak on him in a second. They all said one thing that was in common. Look, out of respect for Vince, we had conversations with him first, which means, once again, they're making business decisions. Yeah. Right? When you make a business decision, you're not going to be mad at somebody, right? When Ric Flair went back to WCW, Vince McMahon had a conversation with him out of respect. He wasn't mad at Ric Flair. Mm-hmm. Out of respect, look, Rick, we got to go younger, blah, blah, blah. By all means, we, you probably can go back and make double what you're going to make with me right now because of wherever you're at. That's respect. Right. Okay, sure. He goes back to WCW. They pay him a ton of money. He's miserable for the next couple of years, but he's getting paid. You know what I mean? It's business decision. You know what I mean? And Ric Flair's like, I never had any animosity towards him. Like, he was respectful to me. Same thing. For Aleister Black said, no, man, I had good conversations with Vince, man. He told me he respected me. And he told me this is, all this other stuff. Respect. Mark Henry. Look, Vince, I'm having a conversation I had a conversation with Vince first. Like, look, man, I want to do more. I want to be involved more. And somebody under you is holding me back. I got to go. When FTR left, I'm on fire right now, bro.
That's it.
When FTR left, what did they say? They said, look, we talked to Vince. Vince said, I'm sorry because the system failed you guys. I'm sorry. There's certain things that are just beyond him. Just by the time Vince gets to it, it's too late sometimes. You know what I mean? It's too late. The damage is already done. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They said it. Like, we have no personal issue. Like, I respect them so much. And I was never a fan. I was not a big FTR fan outside.
Really?
When they in NXT, I liked them at first.
Okay.
But then when they got to the main roster, I was kind of like, oh yeah, they're cool, but I wasn't huge fans of theirs, like, because they kind of fizzled out. That wasn't their fault, just how they were projected. I thought they had I think they have an excellent AEW run. I like exactly what they're doing, because when they came in, they didn't come in with the attitude of, oh, we're not this and that. They say, no, we're just trying to be the best tag team in the world. Mm-hmm. He literally said, we're just trying to be the best tag team in the world. That's all we're trying to do. You know what I mean? And I was like, yo, that is exactly what we came here to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that was like, I respect what they're doing, because that's business, because they kept the focus on what they were doing now than what they were there to do previously.
Got you.
You know what I mean? And that's the part I like the most about what they did. I'm like, yo, because they were so focused on being FTR, not forgetting Vince, forgetting WWE. Eric Bischoff, another one. He makes appearances on AEW on the regular. Carlos event was in the Realm page earlier. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, a couple days ago. He was saying, like, y'all really think all this stuff will be going down and all these guys mentioning Vince's name if he was really worried about AEW at the end of the day? Mm-hmm. Eric Bischoff said, look, I'm a Hall of Famer. I'm a WWE Hall of Famer. And because I still had business dealings with the WWE. So out of respect for Vince, I called him like, look, I'm making these appearances. I'm not, and he's like, trust me, you're good. Thumbs up. Just the fact that he's even bringing it up in the first place. You know what I mean? Respect. If you compete with somebody, you don't give a crap what you think. Like, Matt Hardy's the only one that wants to go there. He does, like, oh yeah, we don't care. Like, Matt Hardy's like, bro, ain't nobody doing that but you. Because when that money gets right and it's time to go back, they're all going to go back. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole point. So Mark Henry, like, look, Vince, I'm not trying to go, but somebody under you is trying to hold me back. And once again, what Vince said to him, the quote was, look, I don't want you to go, but you know everything you need to know. You're going to be successful in everything you do. Big Show did the same thing. Yeah. Big Show single-handedly killed Tony Khan's momentum, because Tony Khan made the quote, oh, well, Paul White said, because he thinks this is the best wrestling company in the world. Paul White goes on somebody's podcast a day later, like, oh no, it wasn't that. It was just, it was an opportunity. I wasn't doing anything. And, I told Vince, like, hey, I want to do more things. And right now you don't have things for me to do. And Vince said, you know what? You're absolutely right. It's a great idea. Go ahead and make your money. That's not competition. Mm-hmm. You can't compete that way, outside of guys like, like an Andrade who just felt like he was, he didn't want to wait till later. He wanted now. He didn't want to wait till next. I respect that too, but it's not like he was a superstar.
Right.
It's a big deal when superstars go from being when John Cena and Randy Orton decides to leave. Yeah. Then come talk to me. When Edge decides to leave, come talk to me. When AJ Styles jumps shit, then come talk, because now it's competition. You got guys that are like, okay, cool, I still got some juice.
I throw Roman in there.
Roman can't leave.
Not now, but like, as far as names, I think, and it might end there. Out of all the names you just mentioned,
the Romans, the Seth Rollins, like those guys.
Seth definitely.
When the Miz decides to leave, like, I'm choosing this brand over that brand, then we'll talk about competition. You know what I mean? Moxley was the first one, respectfully, because Moxley and Jericho, in all fairness to Jericho, I'm not going to disrespect him, man. Moxley and Jericho definitely were, they were big deals. They were guys that they chose to be there. Although they were, and they weren't really at the back end. Jericho's on the back end of his career, but Mox is still relatively in his prime. When that happens, then talk to me about competition, because until then, I don't mind those other guys. You can go ahead, you're fine. I don't mind. That's all right.
That was funny.
I don't mind guys jumping ship for better opportunity. Like, I don't mind that. I don't care if the WWE guys are not, because you need recognizable faces to kind of help your product. It is funny how they highlight those guys. Yeah, go ahead.
Because you've always been, especially since we've been doing this show, kind of break down the fourth wall a little bit. But you've always been somebody who like, quality control. Telling people, yo, chill out. It ain't that serious, right? You've done it with me on multiple times. We may not reveal it on the sit down. Does Tony Khan need somebody in his corner to tell him sometimes, chill out, bro, shut the hell up? Because this whole, like you just said, he said all this, Big Show chose this company, and Big Show's like, no, it wasn't, that was a business decision. Does he need somebody to tell him, like, I hate to sometimes say this, but stay in your lane, focus on your product, don't worry about what they're doing up north?
I mean, of course he does. I just think that he's so caught up in trying to stake his claim.
Mm-hmm. You know, because I'm sitting there and I'm like, this dude is going around, and it's like somebody said his own action figure company.
Yeah, like it's his first figure fit. Like it's. I think he's a young guy. I think he's excited about putting a dent in the wrestling industry, because it's really good for the business, as you can see.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like as fans, it's very WCW-ish.
Mm-hmm.
It's the problem. I don't know, man. It's like this. He does need somebody to say, look, let's focus on what we do best. And I think he does, to a degree, in all fairness. I know we give Tony Khan a hard time and AEW a hard time, but I think what they're doing is actually pretty great. It's groundbreaking, it's earth-shattering, it's carved its niche in the world of professional wrestling, but to me, that's all it has done. Mm-hmm. You know, it's carved its niche. It's not on the same level by any means, you know. But I think I mean,
Michael Thompson. I've been trying to tell this dude that. Shout out to the little bro.
Well, what you got to think about him. He's a younger guy. He's never experienced what that really means before. You know what I mean?
Right. That's true.
His generation grew up on the closest thing to it was TNA. You know, TNA wrestling, and that was. They had more. If you look at it, if you want to keep it 100, they've had bigger numbers in TNA than AEW has now, and TNA wasn't even nowhere near close to be considered competition. Mm-hmm. So that's where AEW's presentation is way more boisterous. It's way more flamboyant. It's got the right look.
Yeah,
but let's not kid ourselves. It's not really doing big numbers, because TNA was doing 3 million viewers, and it was still considered a pissant company. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, if we're gonna keep it 100, like, I mean, fans, we like what we like. Oh, this is like, okay, I get it. We're all excited and we want it to be this, we want it to be that. Okay, sure, but I'm not gonna pretend like it's a big deal right now when it's really not. You know what I mean? And like I said, we saw that if not this year, last year, when NBA 20 got a look at Chris Jericho, and they were like, what the heck happened to Chris Jericho? Because the last time most casual fans saw Chris Jericho when they was a kid, and he was in his run in the 2000s.
Yeah.
You know, and they were like, what the heck happened? It left a really bad impression, because that was their first time trying to cross over. And I think they were like, yeah, we're not ready. Because everybody's like, what the heck happened to Chris Jericho? They killed him. Like, I was like, oof. TNA, I think AEW jumped the broom a little too early. Mm-hmm. Let's cross over to the NBA and see if they like our stuff. Cool wrestling. No. Casual fans aren't just wrestling fans because they're wrestling fans. Casual fans are wrestling fans because the moments that those superstars gave them in that period in time in the world of pro wrestling gave them the feels. It gave them lifelong lasting impressions and memories. Mm-hmm. That's why they watch wrestling. They don't watch wrestling because it's cool. That's why we watch wrestling. We're in the minority. We're wrestling fans. Yeah, we're gonna watch whatever you give us because let's check it out. You know what I mean? But that audience is not there anymore, because you don't have these moments. You don't have these superstars that resonates with kids. I think you have it in somewhat. You have two major guys in AEW right now that does that. Mm-hmm. Orange Cassidy, and I know for a fact Darby Allin does do that. He's going to leave that impression in a lot of kids' lives, where they're going to remember the good times of Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy. Problem is, AEW's marketing isn't kids; they're marketing to us. Yeah, that's where I'm like, where's your catch-22? Because WWE had to make a business decision to say, okay, look, where's our bread and butter coming from? Okay, fine, children. It wasn't popular amongst us. We tolerated it and we moved on from it, but we gripped and regretted about it. And I'm honest enough to admit that we did. But guess what? From a business standpoint, that's your audience. They're the ones that's watching wrestling now. They're the ones buying the action figures. They're the ones buying the t-shirts. They're the ones that are convincing us as parents to buy the stuff that we like, and we're gonna buy it just for the sake of what we was buying the stuff anyway. Now we can pass it on to the next generation. That's a business model. You know what I mean?
My last WWE shop order had 3 items: a belt for me and 2 t-shirts for kids, my son and daughter. That's you know,
it's a business model. It's the wrestling business, not the wrestling friendship, as Matt Cardona says. So that's where that is when it comes to that. And AEW to me is like, man, I don't know who are you marketing to? Because if you marketing to hardcore wrestling fans, we're in the minority because we're old, and I'm not paying for reviews. I'm looking for a link in the stream. I'm a millennial. Like I'm not paying full price for anything these days. You know what I mean?
You mean tell me you ain't pay for that Floyd fight, man?
I didn't even watch it.
I think the best part on Twitter, somebody said, "Who's the real winner of this fight?" And they said the people who didn't pay for it.
Yeah, I'd say the one who made $20 million to dance with Floyd Mayweather. You know what I mean? I was laughing because he got, of course, the clip went viral, like with where he got knocked out, and Floyd like held him up, like, "Ho, bro, we still got to dance. Like we got this got to go 8."
Tell me this dude is a disciple of McMahon,
bro.
That
he gets
fast.
it. But you know what though? But a lot of wrestlers were. Muhammad Ali was the same way.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like I remember I was laughing because I was watching I think it's called One Night Miami, with the fictional story.
Oh man, that was phenomenal.
It was good. Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, and Cassius
shout out
Clay.
to Regina King.
Yeah, she executive
black
produced that.
Yep.
And Jim Brown. They talk about this fictional night of these guys kind of hung out with each other, which is he talks about Muhammad. He talks about his mentality. Like, wrestling. He has always talked about using that style of sports entertainment to kind of draw money. You know what I mean? And I think Floyd was another one of those guys that kind of recognized it early enough and adopted it, which is why he went to go study. Like, how do y'all do this? And this dude is retired, 46 years, and he's still making $100 million off of an exhibition match. Like, Floyd went home with like 120 million. Logan Paul went home with 20 million just to dance, and then Floyd made 120 million for exhibition. Like,
it makes you wonder, and this is why I always had these fun. We always had these fun conversations. I just got finished watching Mike Tyson documentaries that they put on ABC. What if Tyson found Vince earlier, and Vince in the WWE? He came at a time when he was, just came back from, being he was suspended from, I think, for biting Holyfield, and you start wondering, like, what if Tyson would have found him sooner? Because he said they found each other at a time where they were. Yeah, Brett talked about it in his book. Yeah, he's obviously, upset at the fact, like, wait, y'all just paid this man buku amount of money, but told me you couldn't afford me.
Was that $3 million or something to that degree?
And but they couldn't afford his $1 million contract or whatever, right?
Yeah, I remember Brett. Yeah.
So it's like make you wonder, like, what if he would have found like the wrestling business sooner?
He's another guy that grew up on wrestling. That understood that side of everything, and we even say, man, AEW now, guys that came in Snoop Dogg and Shaq, and a lot of celebrities are involved. But it's the same idea, it's the same concept. Is these guys are coming from this space of recognizing there's an entertainment aspect to this sport that is crucial to the business.
The business,
because you gotta make money. Like, you gotta draw. It's not just about, oh, he's good. Like, we wrestling fans are the only ones. He's good. He's talented. Why he could be used? Like, because we always, people get into it with us. We're like, because he doesn't make any money.
Yep.
Oh, he could have been a draw. He could have been a draw. Yeah, but then when you give those guys those opportunities, did they really bring in a lot of money? Because your business cannot be sustained if you do not bring in any money. There is no wrestling business now. You get what you want because you got to see your favorite superstar. Congratulations to you. But now, when the shareholders want to know what's what, a guy like Vince McMahon is a promoter, but he's also a businessman, and I think that's the one side of him that we don't like, because he'll always make the right business decision before he makes the right creative decision. And I think that's what AEW suffers from. I don't know what degree they're making it, because I don't know anything of that. I'm just a fan, but from the outside looking in, as a fan that enjoys wrestling, they're not making a big enough impression on me as a show. Don't get me wrong. There's some spots to it. There's definitely some spots to it. I have nothing against it. I'm just saying, like, it's nothing makes me go, I got to see this. Like, when they first got in the mix, we were locked in. Like, okay, let's see if they're really gonna really do anything seriously. And then you had the original first.
Was that
All
the first
in?
one?
The first was All In.
I thought that was the ROH. I mean, the Cody and Bucks pay-per-view.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That was, to me, that was always the genesis of what AEW would eventually be.
Got you.
That was they stole my idea to have like an indie WrestleMania, have all the top guys from every unsigned, on all the top guys. So, you know what I mean. So that's how I always looked at it. You know what I mean. So once they saw it could be done, and then Kenny Omega had his thing with Jericho in New Japan, Tony Khan and them got into it, and all that good stuff. And that's what we get now is AEW. But as good of an impression that they are leaving on the wrestling industry. I don't know what to I don't know, because I'm looking for more star power. I grew up on star power. I need star power.
Right.
I'm not here to see the young talent, because that's what the indies are for. You know what I mean? That's the fun of the independence, because I can see that up close and personal. You know what I mean? Those are the shows that you get to make, and you get to call, and you get to take the drive to, and then you can see those guys before we even hit that space, before they even become superstars of professional wrestling. I don't know. Yeah, so help me understand it, because Impact to me has the same issue, but Impact to me is as Brian Myers explained it, as an island of misfit toys, because it's not just one type of superstar. You have young guys that are kind of undiscovered, then you got veterans that are kind of there, like the Tommy Dreamers that kind of had that run. They're kind of in Rhinos. They're there to work with young guys, but then you got those in betweeners like your Matt Cardonas and your Brian Myers. And then and even like your the Good Brothers that are kind of in their prime, but didn't really have big runs in the WWE, still having a fresh run. And it's like, you don't know how to define that particular promotion. That's the ECW in this trifecta. And I think that's why a guy like Brian Myers thrives on it, because he loved ECW so much. So it seems like he gets his chance because he's getting the opportunity to do something more now than he's ever been able to do. And that's like the ECW feel, because they're the only one that still had empty arena.
Yeah.
They got, of course they got this working partnership with AEW, because they got to share veterans to make some of their stuff relevant. And it's just the top stories. It's not like all the stories, you know what I mean? Because AEW's got plenty of TNA guys that, like Sting and Christian, that could easily get involved in those shoes, but it's not about Impact and AEW. It's just about the talent at the top of Impact working with the talent that's supposed to be at the top of AEW, which is Kenny Omega. So
it's just weird, man. It's definitely
strange place.
It's interesting, but like you said, there are some spots with AEW. There's some spots with Impact. My issue with Impact is always where I can watch it at, right? I can only watch it on Twitch or Access. Well, I can only watch it on Twitch. I don't have Access TV. And I think that's where they suffer, is not having the big enough network for other wrestling fans to see. And I think that's what kind of hurts them in a sense. I would like to see Impact Wrestling on. I mean, I wish we
hold on real quick. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wish I could see Impact Wrestling on a bigger platform. It's just unfortunate that we can't, so trying to watch it on Twitch, it's so much that goes on that platform.
Go ahead, keep going, keep talking to people. I got to step real quick. Go ahead, keep talking to people.
All right, so Dwayne takes a split second. And that's my biggest issue with Impact Wrestling, is the fact that, right now, all we have is that you only can watch it on Twitch or Access TV. So one of the things that I am interested in seeing as we move forward with AEW, with a Impact, is how much more will we see with this partnership? What happens when a Kenny Omega who does he eventually drop that Impact Wrestling Championship to? Does a guy like Moose win the title? Y'all let me know. What do y'all think as we move forward? I mentioned this before about Cody Rhodes. Right now there isn't any big star powers in AEW, but I'm looking forward to seeing when. Excuse me. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Cody Rhodes and Anthony Ogogo. Will Ogogo get his win back? And that's what I'm definitely interested to see. I'm going to go ahead and take another quick break as we talked about the WWE. We talked about life after the WWE. I'm going to take you back to season 4, where in season 4 we discuss what life after the WWE was like. We'll be back after this.
Actually, wrestlers don't have to follow what is considered the status quo of the WWE these days. If you're not being used, you can decide I want to do something more. The rush of the fans, whether it's 50 people or 50,000, no longer makes a difference because superstars just want to be recognized because they feel now that maybe I don't need the machine to be what I consider successful.
Yep. That's true. You look at a guy like Cody Rhodes, right? Homegrown. Let's not forget. Homegrown in the WWE. What'd you say? Born with a silver spoon in his mouth?
Absolutely.
Say when it comes to the business?
Of course.
And he left because he wasn't like the way he was being used. I mean, he even went on record saying he had the challenges was like figuring out what to charge people, what to charge promoters, what to expect, because he hadn't been through this before.
No.
But he's went out there, he's thrived. We mentioned him on our Breakout Superstars episode, which you can find on the Wrestling Wrealm YouTube channel.
Did we?
All right, and we're back, ladies and gentlemen. So, we was talking about Cody Rhodes, we was talking about life after WWE. So make sure y'all check out that episode from season 4 of the Wrestling Wrealm. It was definitely something I wanted to touch on real quick. NWA is behind a paywall, and I know you got to make money, but I'm wondering how much of your audience in this time of wrestling do you cut off by being behind a paywall? I think it's $4.99 a month on Fight TV. Granted, the hardcore wrestling fans are going to pay for it, but somebody like me, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not paying for it because when I watched NWA, it was cool, but it wasn't must-see television for me. It was something I was like, all right, it took me a while to get used to the studio wrestling, and I know people like, shout out to Blake, who was on here a few episodes ago, my uncle, who grew up with that. Shout out Big Brother Glenn. Same thing. They was all, well, you kind of got to get used to it. So like my first thing was, I don't like this mess. What the heck is this? This is 2020 and this is 2019. This isn't 1985. But now, they went away and they come back, but you got to pay $5.99. You got guys over there like Black G's. You got Aaron, Damian Sandow. I can't think of his name. But they're behind the paywall. Realness, and you're on mute, just to let you know. What is your thoughts about the NWA being behind the paywall?
It did make it. It just business model. That's all I can really say. Definitely a business model, because it wasn't like you said. It was when I saw it. I followed the NWA, the independent scene, when it's gone through multiple owners. I remember when NWA was run kind of old school. I'm talking back when like Adam Pearce was still a scrap iron. Adam Pearce, when he was long time NWA champion. When guys like Rob Conway was the NWA champion, and he had work relations with like New Japan, and they were very old schoolish. They didn't want you having social media accounts and anything like that. And then Billy Corgan kind of came in after he left Impact. That kind of thing went down. And I remember seeing the studio stuff for the first time. It's not wrestling that I grew up on, but it was very familiar to what I've seen old clips of. And I thought it was fun. I thought it was nostalgic. And I thought it was nice to have an old school look for an updated product. But in my mind, it was always an independent promotion. Still, you know, I never looked at it as a national brand. Because outside of that, they were always their big time matches and pay-per-views, and well, not pay-per-view, their big time title defenses was in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. That's where they were before they started doing their own NWA studio stuff. You know what I mean? So that's so for them to do that, come in, create some buzz, because like I said, they carved their niche in the market somewhere. You know, and they had they left. You know, they did whatever they had to do. Pandemic stuff kicked in, and then I think they got this whole new deal and stuff like that. And to come back for a paywall, you have to ask yourself, is this worth me paying this money every month to see this? Personally, I'm saying no. Because if every other independent promotion is giving me that stuff free of charge, you know what I mean? What is it about the NWA? And it's like this is no different than anybody else. A lot of has what's, you know what I mean? So, you know, a couple of familiar faces, and then there's a couple of, you know,
that has what's.
Well, because you can't. A lot of these guys are not guys that had big runs. They just familiar faces.
Has what's.
I mean, it's just, you know, like I don't want to call them a has been, because you have to have a run at some point. Like, you know, like a Ken Anderson. You know what I mean? He had a Ken Kennedy run in WWE. But to me, it was his most successful run, you know. And then you can argue his TNA run was solid, but it was solid at best. You know what I mean? He wasn't like, you know, hey, this guy's helping change what we do around here, because ultimately, it suffered the same fate as everything else. They were all on the like Jeff Jarrett type level, where it's like, yeah, very recognizable. Sure, top guy in some situations, but when you talk about big money draws in the sport of professional wrestling, you never name these guys. So, and a lot of those guys are in NWA right now. You know, and then of course you got guys like Nick Aldis as your champion, looks the part, dresses the part. Never that impressed with what he does in the ring, but it's just not, even the TNA is Magnus. It just never. I remember seeing his match with against AJ Styles. They were supposed to, you know, have their tag. You know, they were kicking AJ Styles out of TNA, and they had the title match. You know, AJ left with the title and went around the world with it, and they stripped him, and then he came back. And I was expecting it to be like, okay, cool, man. This is going to be the match to kind of make Magnus. No, it was like this gimmicked out. Dixie Carter got involved, and I was like, oh, this is terrible.
So they failed at making Magnus.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, so he fits in the NWA. He has a very regal look.
Yeah,
it fits the kind of modern day old school guy, or the old school modern day. You know, you can't ask for a better guy like him to represent your brand, unless it was me. I'm the only person I would want to be like NWA champion in 2021. Just to say, as another black man, I can have my name on that list. But if it's not me, I'm okay with Magnus. But to pay $5 a month or whatever it is to see what they do every week,
yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
You're putting me in a bad spot to talk bad about wrestling, and I don't want to. That's how
I would say this. I'm gonna give it. I'll put it and say something great. Shout out to Mickie James. She's getting an opportunity to do what she wanted to do in the WWE.
What is she doing? Like, because I know she was making some noise about some things.
Yeah,
but I don't. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, she will be putting on a all women's pay-per-view.
Okay.
And, you know, she was loud about wanting to do. I shouldn't say loud like that, but you know, she wanted to do another Evolution.
She was adamant.
And she wanted to be like a producer for the women. You know, she wanted to do some more backstage roles.
I don't understand why that was not available for her.
I don't either.
That's what I don't get. Were they paying her that much money?
Question, right? Or was there even an opportunity to offer that, to say, hey, can we talk about a pay cut? If we want to pay you this money for this job, not wrestling money.
Yeah, I think they got to break the contract before they discuss a new one. I think this because you would say, look, man, let's talk restructuring.
Hold on, I just got a text message. I knew this was gonna happen. That's why I created this. This just in: Leo Rush is retiring from pro wrestling. Just
again.
It's been a crazy ride, but it's time to get off and do what truly makes me happy. Thank you, AEW, New Japan Global, for he tweet tagged them, and thank you. And he's got a link to a full story on his IG. But yeah, that came through the text messenger. He's retiring
again.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he retired the first time, right?
Yeah, this apparently. So he's writing a post, but apparently he had an injury and he's just feeling comfortable. Feel like his arm is hanging from his body. He went into a depression.
This is all recent, or are we talking about just something he's been dealing with for a while?
It sound like obviously it's a lot. He wrote like 4 notes. Swipe.
Oh wow!
Notes or whatever.
So he wrote his swan song. Like, this is it.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. It sounds like it's an injury. Like I said, I'm not going to take time to read all this on air, but I'll just say, wish him well on his next journey in life. Thank you for the entertainment that he's went out there and done to, entertain us as wrestling fans.
Is Leo Rush a big advocate for mental health and mental health practices?
Could be.
Okay, because he gives me that type vibe.
I'm not sure, but I think that's a conversation that definitely needs to be had in pro wrestling. Well, I think in all sports.
I was about to say in all. It's being talked about way more now, especially after recent.
You're an athlete. You know what I mean? You've played at higher levels than I've ever played at. I've only played in rec leagues and fun leagues. You've played high school and college ball. And not from my aspect, I know how it is to be like, to understand, like, dang, man, I wish I was this good. And it's just for fun, you know what I mean? Or wanting to go out there and win a game, but it's not my life. Like, you remember when I was playing at ESPN and I would say, bro, we got a game today, man. We got to win. Yep. And I'm on the bench.
You had me wanting to play. I was like, dang, I wish I could be able to play this.
And that still wasn't enough for me to recruit you to Bristol. Y'all don't understand. I tried everything. I had even talked it over with my wife. I said, look, Dwayne come up here, he could maybe stay with us for, him and Jonathan will be in the living room. We had a 1-bedroom apartment, for a couple weeks till he could find this place. Like, I put the full court press.
I was close though. It just, I told you what rubbed me the wrong way. I talked to the wrong person at NABJ.
Yeah,
at the ESPN booth.
Ooh.
Yeah, that guy.
Like shout out to our friend Alex. She was like, oh yeah, all you gotta do is this, that, and the other. Yo, we put the full court press on. I was like WWE trying to recruit Sting all those years.
Yeah, we probably would have got stuck up there for a while.
You never know. I mean, just think about this. One could dream, right? You got the wrestling around up there. Okay. At the time, we had Grissom. We had Coach. So
you thought we were gonna just navigate from?
You just never know. Shout out
Bristol to Stanford.
You know, and not even Stanford. We could have made noise there. We had Grissom, Coach, Roflo. Shout out to my boy Keith Mack. Doing this thing on Indies. He's now at the SEC network, still wrestling. Then you also had the manager who took over Sports Center. The producer, his name was Glenn Jacobs. And it's funny because when we talk, when they in the companies, when they do a reorg, shout out to my boy Steve Braband. Steve the one who gave me the Daniel Bryan book. He was my producer. Said he was gonna schedule one-on-ones with us on Tuesdays just to talk Raw. And this is during that time where WWE's got that relationship with ESPN. Well, it would happen the next year, but like you said, had you come up there, all this. So I'm thinking, like, man, what could have been? Like I said, I met with Glenn Jacobs. When companies do reorgs, that's what they did. They bring in a different manager, and they sat me down with Glenn. And I told him I was a wrestling fan, had a wrestler show. He's like, man, we gotta do something. He said, we got all these guys here, And I said, yeah, it's funny. Your name is Glenn Jacobs. He said, well, yeah, except that Glenn Jacobs 7 foot tall, and I'm 5'6".
The fact that he knew who you're talking about. That's the beauty of it.
He was a fan. Yo, bro. Let me tell you, on Wednesdays, when NXT would come on, this was the early days of Periscope. And Tyler Breeze.
Whatever happened to Periscope?
It like died or came Twitter live or something. But
Okay.
Tyler Breeze, you remember he used to do the little selfie stick, and he would come out there and
Yep.
go live on his Periscope. Roflo, Robert Flores, shout out to him now on MLB TV. He would sit there and be like, "Hey man, you see this?" And we would go like. At one point, Tyler used to come up with like a couple different ladies, and we would log on to Periscope and watch. Then he would be like, "Hey, Brian, I showed him how I was like, you can watch Raw, like just log into your cable company." So he's watching Raw right before Sports Center. I'm like, I gotta go like start working on stuff for your show tonight. I can't sit here and watch wrestling. Right. But yeah, yo, I put the full court press. But back to the original thing, because we don't went off. I don't went off. Mental health is something important that needs to be addressed in the world of pro wrestling in sports.
Yeah, it's even on smaller levels. I can't tell you the countless amounts of young men and women that their lives are literally never the same after they're done playing sports, simply because even if they're good or not, they're good somewhere. You know what I mean? And when you put your identity in sports sometimes, or that's your dream, and then it falters, a lot of people don't know how to respond to that. And it's not an excuse, but it kind of scars, because everybody's not built the same. Everybody's makeup and emotions and fortitude shouldn't be measured against each other, because that's not fair. But in all honesty, I can't, I remember one of the things I kept saying to myself was, I said that if there was ever an opportunity to do anything in regards to some type of nonprofit, I was thinking like some type of transition program for athletes to deal with not knowing who you are after you're done playing your sport. Because a lot of people, like I said, even the ones that really aren't good, they don't respond well, because in their minds they were good. They were going to make it. And when you're young, you're a dreamer, you always got a chance until when you get punched in the face as an adult, and that moment happens where it's like, you're not good, you're not good enough. A lot of people don't respond to that well. And that's just on a smaller level. We're not even talking about the pressures that many athletes place on themselves to be successful, whether it be their own reasons, their families, whatever the case, or even like you were there at one point, but now you're not there. I know wrestlers deal with that a lot. Being in, having that form of validation, that rush, that drug of, just being out there, being able to perform and feed off the energy of the crowd. And for some people, that's what they lived off of. And then to no longer have that it's kind of heartbreaking to see what happens to so many performers that, fall by the wayside because mental health is not a priority, because business is really a priority. So, Leo Rush this isn't the first time we've heard this from him. He always says I don't know how many times he said it. It might have just been one, but it seems like he's talked about, well, what next? And maybe I should retire. And he does music and he dyes his hair a different color. And I'm like, yeah, this bro looks like he might be going through some things.
In the business, it sounds like it's addictive. I mean, I never had that, lack of a better word, rush of walking through a crowd. The most I had was Derek Frazier, when shout out to him. He was doing like his, kind of a retirement tour. And I was recording some stuff, and he was like, shout out to Greg Excellent for allowing this to happen at his promotion. He was like, yeah, man, you can come out with me. I forgot his tag partner. But so like, me, in my head, I'm marking out, right? I get the opportunity, they hit the music, and I'm walking out with the camera to the ring following him.
I remember that. Yeah. That was his farewell tour, right?
Huh?
Farewell tour he was going on?
Yeah, it was on his farewell tour. This was at oh man, I wanted to call it, it's like GBW. I think that's what footage. Yeah, it is. It's actually in my one of my demo reels. But that opportunity, so, and they wasn't even cheering for me, but I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. So I can't even imagine what it's like to walk out to a swarming of boos or swarming of cheers. Let's see why Ric Flair talks about it.
Yeah, that's a guy. He can't function without it. It's in his system. But people with deficits or unfinished business when it comes to the emotional ties, like I don't know, Ric Flair was an adopted child. He was as he said, he's a black market baby. He probably will never know who his real parents ever were. For all we know, he was stolen from his parents and then sold on the black market. I mean, that's how he talks about his upbringing. That you'd be surprised how much that has stayed with a man like him, because he's always seeking validation to the point where he can't function without it. Like, he's got to be in wrestling. I think his loved ones around him know that. Like, he's got to be with the boys at some point. He's got to be on the show at some point. He's got to do something, because it's so a part of who he is, and it's so almost crucial to his mental health and his sanity. Because if he's at home for too long, he can't stand, because he's always on the road. He's always he's older. But that's why Ric Flair's in commercials. He's doing autograph signings because that lifestyle has never left him. And I think he's one of those guys where if you make him sit still, he probably will pass away. Like he can't sit still. He's got to keep moving. So yeah, man, man, playing basketball at HBCU. I mean, and I'm talking about a time when we were winning. Man, I walked out there, bro, and just to hear everybody just going nuts, I was like, "Whoa, this must be what wrestling feels like." Of course, everything like relates to wrestling. I remember I went out there. I was like, I used to be so fired up to play. I was like, "Oh my gosh, bro, I can't wait to get out here because every good thing you did, everything cheered." You know what I mean? Like if even if you were a guy that didn't score a lot of points, if you were the guy that got a dunk or a bucket in a crucial moment, everybody goes nuts. You'd be like, "Oh, I can get used to this," and it can be a drug if you're not careful. It's an adrenaline rush that you're just like, man, it's just like I said. And that was at a basketball game. Like that's an enclosed in area arena for a basketball game, man. I can't imagine. And I noticed it when I went to my first wrestling WWE show.
Yeah,
and I was like, it was normal situations happening on a wrestling show. But it seemed like the reactions were so loud inside the building that they would never translate to TV.
That's the thing people don't understand about if you've never been to a show. And we was there during the height of like Vicky Guerrero.
Yeah.
When she would come out and say, "Excuse me," and you hear those swarm of boos.
Bruh, when John Cena's music hit in an arena, first of all, just the sound of the music, the bass, it's just so loud. It's just like, oh, like even this is before they cut pyro. We went to one show. It might have been, it was in Baltimore. I think it was did we have Hugh Diddy and this is what? No, it was, I don't know where we had really good seats. I don't know how the heck we got them seats.
Was it in DC?
What? No, this is Baltimore Arena. Like we were First Mariner.
Okay.
What's it called now? Is it
Royal Farms?
Royal Farms now. It was First Mariner at the time.
Yeah,
and we were like on lower level seats
in the corner.
Yeah, like right by almost by the Titantron where we were.
Yeah, because that was like the hack.
We went there last minute, didn't we?
Yeah, but those seats were great because you couldn't see the front of the Titantron. Because of that, they were like $25 because of that. And then that's when I think Booker T came over and shook our hands. You know what that was? Not that one. The night before.
We were closer. Like I remember that time because I remember we Booker T because we were like Booker T was because we were that was the time we were like almost behind the Titantron because that was where the wrestlers were leaving out, and we were like you could walk over and see them going into the tunnel that way. It was another time we were I could be wrong. I don't know.
Was it TLC?
Wasn't TLC? Was it TLC?
That's when no, because Cena wasn't on that show. He was there, but he wasn't on the show. That was the night Daniel Bryan cashed in. Yeah,
no, I went because we were further up. I don't remember what it was. It had to be a Raw. I think I remember it being a Raw. Like I don't remember. It might have been. I don't remember. I just remember we were there. Like we were right there, and that just like that space. Right, we were like we weren't behind Titantron, but we were like awfully close to it. To that area. It might have. You know what? It might have been. It might have been the same area. I'm thinking about because I think Booker T. It was like they came down the side.
Yeah.
To go. So it was.
Yeah, the week before Punk cut the pipe wrong, when he made angel wings in the ring.
There you go. When John Cena's music hit. When the beginning of the show, pyro goes off. I turned it like I was sitting there like, oh, this is gonna be cool. And all I know, like 2 minutes later, the pyro started going like boom, boom, boom. I was sitting there like. Like I got so hyped. I was like I was so excited for the show to start. And I was like, whoo, is that what pyro does to you? And I'm like, I can't imagine. We were on the side listening to that. Like I can't imagine coming out to that and then your pyro, your music being that loud. That feeling and adrenaline, like as a fan, I'm like, man, imagine coming out and performing and just hear your music, hearing the explosions, hearing the fans go crazy. And then you do that every night. It's easy to know that it's easy to understand how you could battle with your mind and then battle with your body because you're like, it's a quick pop. You have your match and you're gone. You know what I mean? And you're like, man, I don't perform until the next date. So I got to drive 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, catch a flight to the next place. go through routine and do it all over again, all just to get to that one moment, depending on where you are on the show, whether you got a significant piece or, or just a regular match,
Yeah.
So, but man, when you experience that, I think you kind of have an idea of what some of these superstars and former professional wrestlers go through for them to all of a sudden just walk away from that. You know what I mean? I know Natalia Neidhart talked about it a lot when it came to her father, the late great Jim Neanville Neidhart. She was like, yeah, daddy just never got over that. Like he just couldn't. It was difficult. You know what I mean? He couldn't battle his demons. Like it bothered him. Like it made him sick. You know what I mean? Not saying that's what made him sick, but he couldn't function with just like he had to do something in regard to the business. But, mental health is difficult to be. The business is so pressuring. It's so intense. It's so make or break you. It's not for the weak. And sometimes a lot of people fight to get to certain places and then for it all to come crashing down. Or you get to a certain point and then you have an injury. You know what I mean? It just takes everything away. I could only imagine. I've never been in that situation before. But my heart goes out to performers that have to deal with that, because if you don't have peace in your own home or within yourself or your whatever the thing is, it can be difficult to sit there and walk away from that type of. Some people, that's the only applause you get. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that's, I remember Jake the Snake talked about it. Yeah, Jake the Snake had an A&E biography years before it was like a thing.
Mm-hmm.
No, it wasn't an A&E biography. It was it A&E or was it? It was A&E, I believe it was.
It wasn't his DVD, was it?
No, one of Jake the Snake DVD. It was an A. I remember seeing it on TV. I believe I remember because I remember he had one. I think Andre the Giant had one. This is before they made like the new ones. That's
yeah. Out. Oh yeah, definitely.
I remember back in the day, it was those two. Or it was something, because I remember it was an older guy that was going around with Jake the Snake, and he was talking about the wrestling, because they talked about his father and all stuff, and he was like, yeah, this is validation. You know what I mean? Like I was seeking validation all this time. It's like that's what the business will do to you. It'll have you seeking the applause. For some people, that's the only applause that you ever get. It's like, man, that's tough. We've had mothers and fathers that pat us on the back, and aunties and school teachers, but then some people just don't grow up with that, and then all of a sudden they get a rush of it for such a short amount of time, and then that reaction is predicated or it's in somebody else's hands, because if you're not booked that week or you get fired or released, it's all gone just that quick.
Exactly.
So it's difficult. I mean, it's a difficult conversation to have. It's definitely a conversation that needs to be had, because back in my day it was hush hush. That's not. You were considered weak if you were like, I'll just get over it. You got to be tough. And that's just the nature of the beast. But it's like now the superstars that are eligible to say, yeah, I don't have to take it this more, they're changing the narrative. And they're the ones that have to do it. They have to be the ones to say, no, we're going to normalize a new normal. We're going to normalize speaking out of these things. People like Kyrie Irving and, and now I guess Naomi Osaka's like, yo, you guys don't own us because we're athletes, and we're not slaves to you because we make a ton of money. This is our job, but at the same time, we're also human beings. And if I have to take time to deal with my mental health because of the pressures of what you guys want from me outside of performing, I'm going to do that. Okay, well, you're going to get fined. So now you got people saying, she goes, okay, well, guess what? I'm not doing it now. So now you guys are losing money because you want to. Yes, that's what you got. Sometimes that's the only language that people understand. Hit them in their pockets. And then you have people going, oh, okay, well, I'm, like you have different organizations saying whatever fine she has, we'll pay it. Because for her to sit there and be able to recognize that openly as an organization or a foundation, that's something we also agree with. And we want to fully show our support tangibly. You know what I mean?
And for goodness sake, and that's what I've been saying, I've been on my kicking at these debate shows and stuff. Shout out to our professor, Milton Kent, who said this years ago, and everybody thought, oh man, you just hating, whatever, but he said this years ago. He's like, man, that's not like real journalism, and why you got to beat somebody down, and you see this with some of these wrestling podcasts, and yeah, we'll talk about the product. And what I like, what we do here, we're not sitting there beating down performers. We may talk about the storylines we don't like, but we're not saying, oh, well, this person sucks because the way he walks or the way he looks, and they need to get it together. We don't speak at things as fact. That's one thing that I'm gonna put it out there. You said, when we started this, and we're not gonna talk about our opinion, passing it off as a fact, you know, and that's what you see. And you know, it's unfortunate. And I think in pro wrestling, we do need some sort of mental health, and not just because it's the cool thing to do right now, not just having, you know, these companies, they spend millions, thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. They bring in these experts to teach you how to, you know, have mental wellness, and you use the Calm app, you know, because I've been through these sessions, right? And they tell you this, but do they really say, hey, you know what?
It's okay.
It's okay we want you to take this day. We're going to designate this day, no matter what you got going on, to have a mental health day, you know? And even in wrestling, I've even said the pandemic has kind of showed in certain cases on SmackDown that you could have a wrestling off season. And what I mean is, look at Edge, right? Edge went away after WrestleMania. He'll show up. There's enough talent, especially with them not traveling. If you mix up these storylines,
They released everybody,
and they still got a lot. They still got a lot, you know, that you could mix it up and say, okay, through this 3-month block, we're gonna have you're gonna have this person, that person, this one. Then we're gonna slowly pull them away. You know, after they finish with this program, put somebody else in, and you slowly have off season may not be wrestling. The whole business is not gonna take off season, right? But you can take the characters. Where's Sasha Banks right now? This is her off season. We'll insert her back in the program. And you know, that's what I mean. You know,
but see, hasn't that kind of always been in place though?
No, not really. You know, it's just
if things have gotten that bad, haven't they not given people the opportunity to take time off to get themselves together?
Bingo. You know what? You hit it. They probably given them an opportunity, but people they written an opportunity.
A lot of these performers won't take it because they know if you out of sight, out of mind. Because if you leave now, there's no guarantee I'm going to write you back into a storyline.
That's the thing. That's the hard part about the business, though, right?
Well, that's the nature of the beast. The business isn't designed for mental health. It's a grind. Like
Boom.
You're on tour. Like I said, you can, as a rock star, you can go on tour and do 81 dates in a row. But then once those 88 dates are done, you're finished. You're talking about 300 plus days a year. And some people can't. Half the business can't function without it. And then you have those other pieces that are just like, I need a break. And it's like that the business isn't built for your mental health. Like it's either you got to be strong enough or you got to be able to find a way to either balance it out for yourself, or it's almost like free enterprise. It's almost like why you can't unionize in professional wrestling. You have to, you can't write into your contract, okay, well, I get 3 weeks paid off mental health days. You know what I mean? You have to say, no, I need time off. I'm not mentally okay. Like Bray Wyatt. We were mad when Bray Wyatt lost it with the whole ending of WrestleMania. Come to find out, the dirt sheets are saying, oh, well, actually, Bray Wyatt was in bad shape mentally because of John Hughes passing away. You know what I mean? Sudden passing. And he wasn't in good shape mentally, but he got himself together enough to do Mania, and everybody's mad at him, Alexa Bliss and the way.
I didn't even know that. Wow.
That was in the dirt sheets.
Oh, wow. I don't read them.
I mean, like I said, I don't know how valid it was, but that's what everybody. There's nothing to refute it so far. Everybody was mad at like, well, why would it do that? Why would Alexa Bliss do what he did? Blah blah blah. They were like, oh well, the word is real is he wanted time off because he mentally wasn't in good shape. Everybody's like, okay, Bray Wyatt came back and did all of a sudden now you're going to Alexa Bliss. That's dumb. WWE buried him. That doesn't make any sense. And it's like only to find out that he requested time off because he really wasn't in good shape mentally. Because he was still dealing with the passing of a close friend, and he mentally wasn't in the space to do it. Because if push comes to shove, what Sasha Banks showed us is they'll walk away. Because Sasha Banks, after her release, when she went through what she went through, when she re-broke Paige's neck, that messed her up in the head. On top of everything else she was probably dealing with. She's like, no, I'll just leave. I want my release because it's not worth it anymore. And Vince was a humanitarian enough to say, look, take whatever time you need. Get yourself together, and then when you're ready, we'll come back and we'll figure it out. But I guess we try to paint Vince as this monster, but the wrestlers don't. There's a reason for that. There's two sides. There's a side. You name me one successful wrestler that has bad. As McMahon said, I was successful, and yet this man didn't do that. I've only known one, which was John Moxley. Somebody that was given everything and still walked away and said it wasn't good enough. I don't like the way this is going. I don't know many. Everybody else has some sort of sour grapes. I'm like, yeah, but if Vince was still paying you, would you still look at him the same way? You know what I mean? And there's not many. And she was like, I credit everything to Vince McMahon because I was done. Because I was going to wrestle whenever I felt wrestling. I was going to be, Mercedes was going to make a comeback. And he's like, no, we're not letting you go because you're going to something. Take your time to do what you got to deal with, and we'll figure it out when you get back.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, like I said, it's hard because we talk about focus groups. Mm-hmm. And Stephanie McMahon, Cody Rhodes, this is what a focus group is.
I was about to say you trying to be funny because Cody's
a focus group is when you have a bunch of people, because I'm pretty sure, Dwayne, you also took communications research. You probably had a better experience. It's the only communications class I got a C in.
I don't think I took that class.
What? How? You know what? You was in a different program.
I think did you get a BA or BS?
A BA. That communications research I thought had to do with. Well, see, you was in telecom.
Yeah, see that was.
And I was in broadcast integrated media.
Yeah, that was that mix. They were. Yeah, I got out of that one, buddy. Yeah, I got out of that one because I was there and I was like, "Why are you guys adding all?" They're like, "Oh no, if you're a telecom major, you can finish out your rubric." And I'm like, "Yeah," because I ain't. Yeah, that wasn't on my list.
You and Christina, y'all had the best curriculum.
I don't know what. Did you come in after we did?
Yeah, I came in 2010.
No, that, you know what it was because I was there. No,
you was at Morgan before though.
Yeah, but I wasn't a communications major though. Like I came in straight telecom.
But I think because of I don't know.
Did you come in a year after me? Heck no.
You was there. You remember I wasn't there when you was there during the basketball run. I wasn't there.
No, but I left and came back though. Like I left for a year.
But the fact you was grandfathered in because of your Morgan incoming date. Like the first time you came into Morgan, based on that. That's why.
That makes no sense though, because I wasn't a telecom major when I left though. Like I was a business major.
Any sense. It doesn't. But that's how they was doing things. Because it was like if you had registered like at Morgan State, period, before fall 2010.
Oh, okay. All right.
You was because I'm not even So
because they reinstated me when I got back. Instead of processing my transcript, they just reinstated me from where I was when I left, which was dumb. Right. But I'm not going to get into all that.
Yeah, so a focus group is when you bring a bunch of people together of all different backgrounds, strangers and non-strangers, but people who are like consumers of the product and get their thoughts on it. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure somebody out there probably have a full focus definition. But Stephanie McMahon said wrestling is a focus group because they go out there, they put on a show with fans. Fans either cheer or boo. They let you know if they like it or not, right?
Right.
So with that being said, it's hard to write. And like I said, it would be nice if we could. And that's what I'm saying earlier. It would be nice if we could write a storyline for people. And then we write the 3 months off and then write them back in. It's just unfortunate. So sometimes people can get too hot. So like my uncle was telling me this story a couple of weeks ago, right? Mm-hmm. Man, what's his name? I'm looking right at him. The dude, Superstar Billy Graham, world champion, and said back in the day, Vince McMahon Sr. had on a piece of paper your start date as champion and your end date as champion, and he stuck by it. And he said, "Well, Superstar was so hot as the time as champion, but he said." No, he said, all right, I told you this is the day you're going to lose the title. And he's like, but, I think I can kind of keep this going because I'm like, he said in today's world, he would have been a tweener. Like, that's how good he was. Right. But because of that, because Vince McMahon was a man of his word, James McMahon was a man of his word, he kept that date. And that was the difference. So, like, it's like you said, wrestlers it would be nice if we could write it that way, but they go away, out of sight, out of mind, and that's what makes it difficult. But I'm glad to see wrestlers get their time off. I'm glad to see people like Sasha Banks stepping up and saying, hey, I need this time off. What I mean? Who knows? For all we know, she probably did that this time just to keep her mental health, fresh.
And then the rumor mills were going, right? Because it was crazy because when she did her, was it 24 Untold?
It was the Untold, and then her conversation with Stone Cold, where she talked about it.
She addressed it in those both. Like she addressed the rumor. Like, usually they don't do all that stuff, but like they address the rumors. Like, oh, this is what they were saying. I was like, oh wow. So it's when there's full transparency when it comes to those type of stories, and they give us that kind of in depth because it's like the difference between a WWE documentary and an A&E biography. Like A&E biography can go a little bit deeper because it's an A&E product. and it doesn't have to fit the mold of WWE's PG product. They can go a little bit deeper to things that, because technically it's an A&E product with WWE as a conversation versus a WWE product where they may not speak on certain things or they want to go on to certain things because of their demographic and their standards and practices for their own brand. So for her to be as transparent as she was, like, oh, so you addressed the dirt sheets when everybody was saying, like, oh, she leaving, or she said all this, and she was just like, I was laughing at all of it. Like, it's crazy because they just were making all this stuff up. So it's like, you never know, when it comes to these types of things, but it also depends on how valuable of a commodity and the property that you are, not as property as an individual, but as the brand itself. The Sasha Banks brand was way more valuable to Vince McMahon than her deciding I'm going to something I need to leave.
Yeah.
So but like I said, I can't say the same thing for Leo Rush or Humberto Carrillo to say, oh, I'm going through some things, I need some time off.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
True.
So
that's true. But we'll see. Like I said, I just want at the end of the day, I just want to see everybody get the help that they need, because you don't want to see nobody really going through like mental breakdowns. That's a lot, and that does more long-term damage than anything. So like I know, even doing these, there's been a couple times, I'll sit up here and be straight up, like I realizing later, like, wow, I was going through a depression. I was like, man, look, I ain't doing no shows. I need to step away because it's just too much, and this is,
I do it all the time.
This is for recreation and fun. I can't imagine, like, and I've had to work through it, and to make sure I feed my family. But like, sure, man, you gotta, how it is. You got to power through some things, but it's something that hopefully we'll see coming out of this. I think people saying one thing too, that's the pandemic has taught them: go. Like, we want to do something, go. I say that as my wife wants to take 3 trips this year.
Oh yeah, you better figure it out there, buddy. You talk about taking time off. No, sir, be jackaroo.
Yeah, let's go take 3 trips.
Yeah, everybody's like, I'm tired of being tired.
Hey man, I keep buying toys. I'm good being out.
You got a good deal. That whole financial separation was, you made out like a bandit, because it wasn't that simple before, but it
wasn't.
As you can see, I'm looking like, yeah, this is you made out like a bandit in this one.
Hey, look, the kids, the bills will be paid, and the kids, make sure they get what they need, they fed. All right, rest is my time.
Yeah, that Undisputed and that spinner, it's got my name on it.
Yo, that's crazy. It's really been that while since you've been over here.
Yeah, I was just playing with the original Winged Eagle, and then of course the WWE 2000 whatever logo, the scratch logo. But that Undisputed. When I say that was one I had my eye on since like 2011. Like I said, it was a belt. I always like big belts. And then when I saw, like I said, I said it 1,000 times, I was watching YouTube and I saw a kid do a review of one, and I was like, that belt is massive. I think I want that one. Because I kept saying to myself, whatever one I like first that I can afford, that's what I'm gonna get. So I was always choosing which one I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So one week it would be the spinner, the next week it would be the Undisputed version 2. But that one that you have is even better than that one. Like I saw that one, the version 2 from a couple years ago was probably one of the most detailed replicas. And then they came out with that new one. I was like, well, that one's way better than the version 2.
Yeah, and the plates are like thick. The plates are thick on that one.
They look like either 2 or 4 like 2 millimeter plates on 4 millimeter plates. I can't tell.
I think on a website it said 4.
4, yeah. I think they were doing once WWE got that, they kind of got rid of Figures Toy Inc. They kind of went to the manufacturer themselves instead of going through them. Mm-hmm. Man, they've been cracking them out. But I remember you telling me, like, yeah, they sold a lot of belts. And
shout out to Brandon, guy. Was talking to him earlier. They just dropped the price on the spinner. I'm like, yo, you might want to take a look, because this is the cheap. It's like $250 or something. I was like, yo,
I used to be a $400 belt at one point.
Yes, easily $450, easily.
Yeah, I remember that.
But I will say this: those tag titles. Remember when I showed you?
Which ones?
The classic was the dual plated.
Okay, yeah.
Remember I said I didn't like it? I did what you did, which you and Corey. it changed my mind. So see, here's the problem, WWE. I don't like the way they do product photography.
Yeah,
because
it's the worst, bro.
It's like, yo, do y'all not have somebody? I know y'all got the guy who do the photos. Like, y'all, come on.
It's not realistic looking. Like, you be like, yo, why does it look like this? And then you see the person like, oh, that's a lot better. Like, they used to have, they had a version 1 of when they came out with the updated version of the World Heavyweight Championship, right? With the red back, after Christian kind of won it, that 2011 era. They came out with a new WCW one after that, and it was the same size. The WCW World Heavyweight Championship has always been slightly bigger than the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. It's a bigger, flatter plate, and I was like, I need a big WCW title because that's how WCW's World Heavyweight Championship was. It was big flat plate, not this smaller version. It shouldn't be the same size as the World Heavyweight because the World Heavyweight was more rounded, so it had a smaller look to it.
Yeah.
And then and that was like 2mm plates, and then maybe 2 years later they came out with an updated version that was like 4 inches bigger, and I was like, see, that's the stuff I'm talking about. Like, you can't tell that from the product photos, and then you got to go on YouTube and somebody's got to say, oh, this is the 2000, it's only the belt junkies. They're like, oh no, this is the one I bought in 2011, and this is the one I bought in 2013 or 14. And I'm like, oh, and you see a massive difference between it, but
I saw that video. I said, all right, they might, when that hits that in my wheelhouse of price range, because I've been wanting the classic tag titles, and I'm like, you know what, I wanted the one with the F, but it don't look so bad. It looks gorgeous.
I'm still like
hating on dual plate.
It's one, I don't like dual. I'm still not feeling it because either I want it all silver or all gold. And if it's all silver, I want it to be the MCW tag team titles because it's pretty much the same. To this day is still probably my favorite tag team championship. Like, that's probably, I don't know why this is. Or give me the original version like that. Not the curved Attitude Era version because they had a curved version.
Yeah.
But the pre Attitude, like before they switched the belts over, that version all gold, and or all silver, and they got to be WWF titles. So I probably have to go to an independent belt maker for those because WWE don't sell them. And the crazy part is, I remember when they announced they were stopped selling, and they're like, look, AJ's belts was like, yeah, they're cutting off these WWF titles now because they got to switch the things over. So these, they was like, once stock goes, it's gone. And I was good and hot when I was like, man, I missed but I come from nothing, so it was difficult trying.
Well, they said at WrestleMania, I bought the one from the WrestleMania.
Was it 280? Was it 305?
325 for the Winged Eagle.
Yeah, but that was and you were one of the last people I know to actually get it. I was like, I know you probably want to buy the bill on 325, but I was like,
my mother, she told me to use her credit card for emergencies.
And wasn't that on sale?
No.
Oh, okay.
But it was 2012, so it was cheaper. They at that time they wasn't. I don't remember the belts being more than $325 at that time. Now they easily $499. Like that. They released the Wolfpack, which I don't see me. Well, in all fairness, this is the whole thing. Red strap, got the wolf on the back. So it's the signature series, but I don't see me collecting a signature series yet. Like, certain titles I want to get, like the tag title, the US title is back at full price, so they're gonna have to wait. Mad, it was $299 a couple weeks ago. I expect they probably put it on sale on 4th of July. I mean, it only makes sense. Or around Money in the Bank, because Money in the Bank, they probably, cashing in. So, but I was like, golly.
If they make updated WCW titles from the probably late 90s, I think they used to sell them. Remember, they used to sell. They did. They had the United States title. They had the tag titles. And they had the TV title, and they had the world title, and they had the cruiserweight. They sold all 5 of those titles. That was all of them. They didn't sell none of the newer titles like the hardcore. And I think at one point they did sell it. Like it was available. The WCW Hardcore Championship. As lackluster as that was. But you know, they when you look at the belts now, they're updated, they're redesigned, like I say, and especially that undisputed title was like an updated version. I'm like, man, when you don't think these belts can get any more detailed.
Yeah.
And they're also selling different versions of the belts again. They're like, oh, this is the replica, then this is the updated the championship series replica, and this is the real one. I'm like, oh, they got 3 like, you know, they used to do it back in the day. It was like a replica something series, and like it was 3 levels. You know what I mean? It was like it was one
6 millimeters, yo.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was the, you know, your
6 millimeter plates.
Yeah, and then you had like an
the undisputed.
Yeah, a premium version, and then it was like the legit, like handcrafted. You know, and that was, you know, they were like $5,000. You know, that type thing. Yeah. But you're seeing more of that now, and I'm just like, oh wow, we got this again. So
crazy. Yeah, it's you know, I tell you though, man, it's nothing like the belts. Because, you know, we record this on Title Tuesday. It's nothing like having you know, being able, just as a wrestling fan growing up, you know, it was something I always wanted. You know, even in the stores, you know, I remember the first time I got the first Winged Eagle, the Big Eagle title from Kmart, you know, the joint that had the paint on it. And eventually
I think I've told this story 1,000 times. I don't know if I need to sell it again. I carried that thing everywhere.
Yeah.
It about the packaging. The way they package it, they put it like in a like magnifying plastic bubble so it looked bigger than it was.
Yeah.
You take it out of the box, you're like,
wait, do you still have the belts from the season 1 and 2?
I do.
Because those joints was gorgeous. The way they were taking on the wall.
And they were the updated versions of those, because those are the ones that like had like etching and deep, you know, like, you know, I was like, oh,
it wasn't paint.
The first one we got, the same, it was literally like a black piece of plastic with gold paint on the black circle. But then when you went back and saw them again, like when I went back and got them again, I don't know why I went back and got those. I don't know. You know, I was this love-hate relationship with wrestling. I was always off and on. I was never could get away from it. When I went back and got them the second time, I was like, well, I'm going to go back and get belts. You know, I had a couple dollars, so they were $10, $15 at the time. So, you know, I was getting $35 a month allowance from my grandmother. I was like, oh yeah, I can buy my own stuff now. The plates had etching on them, like it was like molded. You know, it was different. So that's when I got all 5. And then I'm gonna tell you what got me was when when Jack Specific. That's what it was, because I was back in the wrestling collecting again with the action figures, and of course they had the classic Superstars belts as well. Now, mind you, and now they were the belts I always wanted as a kid. Like when that Jack Specific, the Winged Eagle and the Intercontinental Championship, like the plastic belts. When I say my childhood would have been complete if I had that belt, then, 'cause, you know, back then they weren't that detailed. It was the same thing, just a random brown belt with the plate on it with just the gold etching on the plastic thing. And then, but if I had those, oh man, the wars me and my brother would have had, because we had that blue one. We had the blue Big Eagle belt, and then that was the only one we had when I went back and got it again, and that was it. But then, like I said, we didn't have the Intercontinental. It was always the IC title versus WWE Championship match in my house, and I was always the IC champion, trying to become undisputed champion in the house. But
your brother wouldn't put you over.
Never.
Wait till I talk to him. He's gonna be Shawn Michaels. You did the favors, and he was like, "Thanks, but I won't do the same for you."
Yeah, that's exactly what he was. He'll be home soon. Like,
oh boy. Oh boy, I can't wait. That is my guy.
I might just have a steel pan waiting for him. As soon as you walk in, I'm going to hit in the head with it. It might just run, see if he's going to chase me. Like, you can't chase me now because your knee hurts or something. I don't know. But yeah.
I'm gonna come over and your mother gonna blame me.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, I need somebody to take this. You gotta be a fall guy. Somebody's gotta get in trouble.
I'll take it. See, you put him into this wrestling. You gave him a wrestling show. Like, actually, we did. I don't care. See, now look at him. Boom.
I'm hitting right. I'm getting one of those Thanksgiving pans. Just let him have it. Like, welcome home, sucker. Yeah, I'm not okay with the fact that we could have got that Big Eagle that's sitting right behind you. It was $199. Like, you imagine as a kid, just to sympathize with me for a minute. As a kid, you know how hard it is for a kid to save up $100?
Right.
I had it. Nothing to do with it. Wasn't buying any clothes. Wasn't buying toys. I don't know where I was at the time. You know, like it just wasn't.
All them video games was out too.
Like we had them though. That was done deals. Like that was, once Christmas got like my mother's the kind of person, she didn't buy stuff all year. It wasn't, you didn't get stuff. You got your inventory started. I
swear, at Christmas. Our parents are our mothers and sisters.
Bro,
me and my sister was literally just talking about my mother being the same way.
Yo, Christmas to Christmas was your yearly inventory. Mm-hmm. That's whatever you got. That was what you had that last you throughout the whole year until Christmas. I'm talking like, of course you got gifts here and there. Every once in a while you get some birthdays from relatives and stuff like that. My mother, she the one just buying us toys just because we were good or something like that. If we had money, maybe my grandfather was the one we could always we had to get him to take us to the toy store by ourselves. So my mother wouldn't know. God rest her soul. My mother got mad at my grandfather one time for buying me some ECW action figures like in November. She was like, "This goes to Christmas and you buying him toys." I was just sitting like, hilarious. But it was $199, and I said, "Ma," and I was scared because I didn't have access to my money. Like I was a kid. She didn't let me hold money. If I got money, she held on to it. Mm-hmm. I said, "Ma," and I said, "Man, Jermaine want to buy this wrestling belt, and it's $200, and I got my $100, and he said he'll get his $100, and we gonna get it." Now this is me waiting to see what she's gonna say. Because in my mind, I'm like, she might like, "No, you ain't getting that. Yeah, that'll make no sense. This now save your money, get something." I'm sitting like this. I'm like, "So what do you think?" She's like, "I don't care. That's your money." I was like, I drew up I was in 5th grade. I drew up a contract on Microsoft Word. Like I'm gonna keep telling the story and tell my old man. I'm gonna tell my grandkids the story. They're gonna be like, "Papa, you tripping." I drew up a contract like to this. Like I'm so we cleaned out the desk 1,000 times in almost 15 years, 20 years. But I'm like, dude, if I could just have a copy of that, I want to know what it said. I remember it was a page long, and I'm like, it just said WWF World Championship contract, and it was I was sitting on the computer in 5th grade typing out, "All right, every Monday you got to defend the belt as soon as mommy goes to work. After Raw goes off at 11 p.m. If you fail to defend the title, it's vacant." And you got I don't know what I said in that. If what could I possibly have said at 5th? You couldn't get me to do homework, but I typed up a full page. I'm talking no double space. Full page WWF belt contract. And my grandmother talked my goofy brother out of it. When I say I was in that house, and I had the magazine. I'm like,
the only negative thing she ever done.
the only negative thing you'll ever hear me say about my grandmother. Bro, I was like, "Yo," I said, "Look, it's here. Mommy said we can get it." Like he had his $100. I had my $100. It was $199. I was like, "Yo, we can give her our money. She can call. She can order it." Like that would have been the end all be all. Because like I say, they didn't make belts at the time. Like it wasn't. They had like it was a company called Caesar, and they had like a flimsy winged eagle belt that was like my holy grail of belts at the time as a kid, because I was like, I want that belt, because the foam belts at the time were phony, but it was like a plastic belt, like it was cheap, but it was a costume like belt.
Okay.
The Miz had it on the Real World back to New York when he first became the Miz. He went to a costume shop and he found it. Like,
I heard about that.
Now, if I'd have known that as a kid, I'd have been trying to go to every bike. Mom, can we go to Party City just because? Like, I'd have been looking for it, but at the time, you couldn't find it. It was, and at one point, it was in the wrestling catalogs. Like that, just that one belt for that one company. It was, I don't know what the price was, but it wasn't no buying online or credit cards that you had to call. Man, I would literally go to the because every wrestling magazine that wasn't WWE magazine had the Figures Toy Inc. like spread. It was in color and it had the action figures. I would look at them things. I would like, if people had it was the same thing in every magazine, but if I knew somebody had a hey, can I have your figures thing? Like, yeah, you can. Okay. Kids was tearing them out and giving them to me, and I would literally just look at them. And that belt was freaking on there. It was that one. It was the WWF Big Eagle and the freaking, I want to say the tag title, because it wasn't a whole bunch, all of them went out at the time. It was just that one and something else. It might have been the Intercontinental Championship, because it wasn't all of them. It was there in front of our faces, and we had a wrestling magazine at that house. And I regret to this day opening it up for my grandma. I'm like, hey, look, it's straight. It's $1.89. We can get it. I said, yo, remember, we gonna get it, right? And my grandmother sat there and said, you don't need that, man. You ready to go to college. Mind you, my brother was in the 9th grade. Like he was like in 10th grade. He wasn't nowhere near going to college. Like man, he might have been like a junior. Like, you know what I mean? Like he was just getting into the college stuff. Like looking at colleges and researching it. And I was just, hey, when she said that, she said, you don't need that. Why would you pay for that? That's dumb. Besides, you gotta save for college. He's like, yeah, you're right. I gotta save for college. I got that's what? I'm like,
yo, when he walked through the hunter, yo.
Bro. That ruined that ruined like opportunities like that don't come every day. And we talk about belts. That's a defining piece of being a wrestling fan is that belt. You can call it if you want to call it a title, a championship, freaking belt. All I know is we had a chance to get that. I'm how old I am today, and I'm still.
You remember that more than your age.
I'm still trying to get that title. Like that's why I come to the house. I gotta say, can I hold it real quick? I just gotta. To this day, I go to the house and I pick it up, and I gotta like. Okay, you can have it back now. I just gotta.
I feel you.
I don't think I've ever forgiven my brother. So if he ever watches this, I don't forgive you. But that's okay.
I'm gonna tag him.
Go ahead. He'll be home soon because.
Oh man, I can't wait.
You know how much dumb stuff my brother bought in between the time he said no. The time he said no to that title, to the
with
time
his $100.
I'm blown. Like I'm mad. It's funny because I'm really mad right now. Like I get mad every time I tell the story. I told the story 1,000 times, and I'm still like blown by it. I don't know what he was talking about, but
we was talking about titles. You was up.
No, man, it's just blue. Like it was right there. Can you imagine in 5th grade? Like you don't know when next time you want to get $100. Like you can't even.
Yeah, I might have to. I'll help you if you want to give him a 3D, yo.
We might got to jump him because I still tell my yo, you know I'm still mad because we could have got that joint. Then like you mad, bro. You don't know how insane yo my life would have been complete at that point in time if we had. I'd have took that belt everywhere. I'd have got in trouble. Now mind you, that belt would have been broken. It'd have been scratched up because I would have. When I had the toy belt, I scratched all the paint off. I don't know how, because I just took it everywhere. Like I had it with me. Like I remember being at a cookout. I saw an old video, and all you see is like this blue strap and this gold foil flying in the air. That's me running around with the belt. And I wasn't like no little kid either. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, 11. I was like 11. No, I was like 10 or 11. Like I wasn't no little kid either. I was like, yo, I don't care. I'm champion.
Oh boy.
I'm done. I digress. That's
wow. So this is a great catch-up session, man. Any your brother might he might be very glad he ain't about to walk in the room next to you, because as soon as we go home, you might hit him with a stunner and a couple of Luthez press.
The Bob, if you're ever, I call my brother the Bob. If you're ever watching this, the Bob. You got something coming, buddy.
That might have to get clipped off.
Go ahead, clip it off and show it to him. I hope you see this. We could have had that replica title at the height of the Attitude Era. It was like 99. Like it was literally like 99. Like it was. What a waste, yo.
He owe you one. I think he should buy you a belt.
Nah, I can't. He might be buying me a camera, so I got to be nice. So never mind. I take it back. I'm not bad no more. I need that 873. I got to be nice.
I think you should get both. You know,
I think
I'm egging on.
here's what I'm saying. I still think we should complete the task. Like it's going to cost like $400 now, so I'm going to get my 200. You get the 200, and we need to right this wrong.
There you
as
go.
A team, as a tag team. Like we were like a tag team against other people, but in the house, he was the black show. That's what he called himself.
I Hey, that's the new part of the story. And you always talk about my stories. Your stories get better too, because there's always an addition.
I tell you a fresh story before we close, because now we gotta get out of here. It's late. We're long winded, but who gives a crap? It's our show. My brother used to he went to in middle school. He went to a school called I think Baltimore Lutheran. It's like Concordia Prep now, something like that.
Oh, that's where it was.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay.
Right there on Cromwell Bridge. Right on 695 going west. And he had he was in filmmaking. Like that was the class that he was one of his electives in middle school, probably 7th, 8th grade. He was the black show. Like he's like, oh yeah, we did a wrestling video for class, and it's literally like 3 guys in like school uniforms, like on a bunch of gym mats in a random part of the gym, and he walks in, he's like, I'm the black show. That's awkward because he's the only black kid in the video. So I'm like, no, now in 2021, like, well, should you really been calling yourself that? But it was different. But yeah, he walked in and he was like, yeah. So like ever since then, he was so proud of the video. He's like, it's funny because he's like got khakis that are tucked in, button up, and they're out there like just like fake wrestling and literally just not even doing anything, just you know, on some gym mats in the gym. And the teacher's like, all right, cut. Just sitting there, just recording with a camcorder, and that was his projects for class. And yeah, they called himself the Black Show. So like, you know, he was kind of person that when he did stuff like that, like it stayed with him. So if he had a project and it said you got to be King Midas in this project, like for like a month after the project was over, he went around the house. He was King Midas. He would do something we was in church, you know, in Sunday school. You know, the older group, they had like a Sunday school play. It was called Parables from the 90s, where they were like reenacting, you know, some of Jesus' parables, but an updated twist on it. You know, like Good Samaritan and stuff like that. And his street name, you know, his buddies was Black Ice.
Okay.
Now,
yeah,
it's funny because that's known as the car deodorant. That's the name of the car spray. It's Black Ice, but all
black people use it.
Man, his homies, what's up, Black Ice? He put Black Ice on everything after the play was over. Like, bro, you don't gotta keep calling yourself Black Ice. The play's over. Like that was like in December. You still call yourself Black Ice. He put Black Ice on his. You know what? You said, I'm airing all his personal business on the show. You know, you used to put the brown paper bags on the textbooks. Because back in the day, you had to, you know, back in the day, you had to give the books back so you couldn't get messed up. He was putting Black Ice on everything.
Yeah,
so
that's hilarious.
So when he was the Black Show, he was the Black Show for a long time. Of course, he was the biggest one in for long. He was the tallest kid in his class. So you talk about you calling that girl the Big Show. My brother was the Black Show. Yeah, you saw it. You got some stories. You got some stories in the bag too, buddy. So don't act like it's just me. I'm not tripping right now. You probably think like, what are they talking about? Like, nah, it ain't just me. You got some stories in the bag.
It just happens. All right, man. Everybody, we was gone. We back. We know you happy. We gave you a good show, especially those who rocked out with us this long. Ain't that what the young kids say?
Yeah, I don't think they say rocked out with us. But okay. I don't know. Like
I don't know what they say. You're around more young ones than me.
Yeah, that's what my I can't verify this or not, brother. But I don't think nobody said rocked out.
My wife was like, "Why you got on them chalk line shorts? They little." I said, "No, they not. This is what the size is now."
Yeah, we can't. We gotta like don't be the old head that's still trying to wear baggy pants. Like, no, you date yourself that way. Don't do it.
Then she said they was in the store. Her my sister-in-law was at the mall, and they saw somebody who had like shorts that was like short, and she was like, "That's what people wear." I said, "Hey man, the styles change." But
bro, my jeans are getting smaller and smaller. By the way, I'm like, yo, I put them suckers on. I'm like, yo, are these supposed to fit this way? Like, I'm a little uncomfortable. But you look in the mirror like, okay, I'm a slender guy, but you look around like, okay, all the young folks got smaller jeans on too, so it ain't just me. I'm like, because we don't come from that at all.
Exactly.
But they stretch though, so I'm like, all right, as long as I don't look old.
I'll never know, because like back when I was the size that I didn't mind being, we was wearing 3 and 4 XT. So, but But all right, folks. Everything's right there on your screen. But if you're listening on the podcast, if you're listening, I guess I gotta do it verbally. It's at Dwayne Allen 24 or TRD8 brand if you're on Instagram. At Brian H. Waters, at Wrestling Realm. Make sure you subscribe. You should have did that by now. But also we're on Twitch. Search Wrestling Realm. You know what? At this point, you Google Wrestling Realm, you're gonna have me and him come up everywhere.
It's analytics for you.
What they say, the analytics and all that other jazz.
SEO and all that good stuff.
I hate those letters. Until the next time, we out.
Subscribe to the channel, please.
Do it now.